It is 6 a.m. in the Mile High City. Good morning, Denver, Colorado. You've tuned into the Jeff and Bill Show, News Talk 710, KNUS. I'm your coach, Jeff Hunt, and he's back, Billy Thorpe.
Yes.
How's the show, man?
It is amazing. It was great. And I appreciate everybody out there. I want to let you know, listeners, we did get all of your cards, your texts. We've got the emails, all those things. There was a singing telegram, I guess, yesterday. But despite all of that, they allowed me back on the air. So I apologize to each and every one of you. No, it's fantastic. It's Porter Robinson, never going to be played on the radio. He started out as a YouTube remix artist. When he was a teenager. Yeah, he started remixing some songs. And if anybody remembers that moment in time, that was dubstep. That's when he was discovered.
Oh, yeah, sure.
Yeah, Skrillex discovered him online and hired him as a producer. He came in and produced a number of albums for Skrillex and some stuff behind the scenes. Then when he's 18, he drops his first album called Worlds. And he doesn't sing on it. I think one song he's got that he kind of backs up. But he wasn't a singer at the time. He was, okay, it was kind of more of an EDM album, more electronic. Was somewhat unhappy with that. And then he went kind of the other direction on his next album. It's still a little electronic, but he learned how to sing. And so then that was Nurture. And then this one is Smile. And so the latest one is Smile. And it's just fantastic. We were in the seventh row center, which was really great. And then there's one point where about 2/3 of the way through the show, he comes up to the crowd. And he works his way through the crowd. And right in front of here at Red Rocks, right in front of where the soundboard is, they had set up a keyboard. And he goes over to the keyboard. This ends up being maybe 10, 12 feet from us. So he's 10 or 12 feet from us sitting right there. And the coolest thing is he sits there and he's like, okay, he goes, I want to take a request from the audience. And he turns and goes, wait, what the F are you doing here? And he's pointing over in this area. And he's like, wait. He goes, that's my wife. She never comes out and is never out here. What's going on? She's like, I want to see you at Red Rocks. And he's like, that's really cool. He goes, okay, guys. He goes, okay, I never do this. He goes, honey, what song do you want me to play? And she calls out a song and he goes, oh man, I really should have planned this beforehand. He goes, okay. He goes, I didn't even prep this one. And the cool thing is the song that she requested is a love song he wrote to her.
Oh, nice.
It was so cool.
And that was all like right next to you.
Yeah,
huh?
It was just so cool. In fact, I know people aren't huge. We're not going to be able to do this on the YouTubes because of copyright infringement, things like that. But here's an example of one of his newest songs. Oh, actually, here, let's go back here. This is off of Nurture. This is called Look at the Sky. Would be much better than the sky. Oh, I'm alive. Nurture. And he actually has some things that are dedicated to his experience out in nature because he got out of the studio. And that was kind of the idea. In fact, the cover of the album is him laying face down in the field. There are all these wildflowers and stuff next to him. He's like face down in the field. So, I mean, that's just kind of the theme of that one. And then this is Smile, which is kind of more of the idea of putting both what he did with Worlds and then Nurture together. And this song is just fantastic. This is what he closed the show with. This is called Cheerleader. But I know. Yeah. So at that point, the crowd is going just nuts. He's shooting confetti into the crowd. The lights are going nuts. It's fantastic. Yeah. It was really cool.
I love that. You know, if you watched online, you can see what I talk about. When Bill talks about music, there's a part of his brain that gets scratched, which is
it does.
It's fun to watch. But then so much fun. The other thing that's unique, Bill, is most young people have to deal with their parents listening to music that's from like 30 years, 40 years ago.
Yeah.
What is it like for your kids where you are more up to date on music than they are as teenagers?
It's really crazy because I'll come in and I'll tell them about songs and things that are coming out. I'm like, wait, what? And their friends just look at them like, what did he just do? It's fun because it's a unique thing that we share. It's a unique thing that joins us together because I'm able to discuss music on their level. And we can talk about this is important and why it's important and what it means to them. And I can go really, really, really in depth. And the fun part is this was, kind of a gift to one of my kids. And they were like, no, I want you to come more than other friends. They were like,
oh, that's cool.
You understand concerts, you understand live music, this is something that I want to share. And they come into me all the time and say, can we share music? Can we share this? And we go back and forth all the time. In fact, we have a family Spotify playlist and we go through. And so you stream it and it allows you to see what everybody else in the family and hear what everybody else in the family is listening to at the time. The number of times I've come in, like there was a
Bill's the cool dad.
it's kind of nice. There was a time where two of my kids really liked the band Slipknot. And the drummer in Slipknot had a medical emergency lately. He's dating, long way around the barn. He is dating Kelly Osbourne. He's at Kelly Osbourne's ranch. They're doing a burn pile. He put a lot of fuel on it, but he lit it and he didn't understand the backdraft and it went back on him. And he got second-degree burns on his face and most of his arms and had to go to the hospital. So I come up to my kids. I'm like, did you hear he went to the hospital? And they went, wait, what? So I knew that before they did. Which was kind of cool. Yeah, which is kind of neat. It's really neat. It was so much fun. Porter Robinson was fan-freaking-tastic. It was such a good show. And shout out to my friend Scott that I met next to me. Very, very weird. Older dude. And I mean that by he was older than I was. And huge fan. He's like, I'm so excited. This is like the 8th time I've seen him. I saw him at Red Rocks last time. He and his friend, 5 songs in, just like leave. And they walk. And they disappear for like 5, 6 songs. I'm like, they come back. I'm like, alrighty. And then 4 songs before the end, they leave again. Oh, that's it for us. We're leaving. I'm like, wait, you were the dude that was like pumping me earlier going, this is going to be wonderful. This is going to be the best thing. You've never seen him before live. I'm like, and you're leaving? You're bumping out early? I don't know. I didn't get it.
Found somebody in the bar line or something.
I have no idea what it was. I was like, alrighty, we'll see you later. But yeah, I had a lot of friends around us that we met and it was just so much fun. And it's interesting to see the different genres of music and the kids there because Porter Robinson, again, not played on radio, and his fan group is very interesting. So you're walking around and because of some of the things he does in his videos, there were kids there in shark costumes. There were kids in panda costumes. There were kids in Pokemon costumes. There were kids with light up little cat ears. It was this like different level of cosplay than regular concerts. And it was so much fun. I had a blast. I can tell.
Yeah. I can tell. Yeah. You and I are just different. And I will maybe go to one concert every 2 or 3 years. So
it was so much fun. And it's Red Rocks. That's something special. And it was neat. The guy that opened up for him, it was okay because decent kid, but he sings in thirds. He puts his emphasis on the third. It's like bump, 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 bump. He varies his tempo, but his song is always that. And I'm like, you can do more than that. The delivery can change a little bit that, but again, he's younger. The funny thing is he didn't know about Red Rocks. He had never experienced it before. And he's driving up and he said, the driver comes out on stage. He goes, oh man, wow. Okay. He goes, my driver when we come up here today told me that this is kind of a moment in your career. And he goes, I didn't really realize this. He goes, wow. Okay. And so he starts his set. He gets about 2/3. He gets about a third of the way through the set, sits down. He's got a kind of a fake apartment set up on the front of the stage. And he sits down and watches the bed. And he's like, got to tell you guys, I'm kind of freaking out. He goes, this is so cool. He goes, watching these rocks at night and stuff. He goes, this is crazy. He goes, this is just amazing.
Red Rocks is like the big generator of people coming to Colorado.
Oh yeah, it is. And then later on, he gets like second last song. He goes, okay, we're getting to the last song. He goes, but he goes, I'm just like freaking out here, guys. He's like, they got a mountain over there and a mountain over there. He goes, like, I'm like singing inside a mountain. He goes, this is just crazy. He goes, you guys are so lucky to be here. This is just nuts. Yeah. So it was just kind of cool that it freaked him out on stage. He had to stop a couple of times.
I had a friend in high school. She loved concerts. She went to concerts all the time. Like every night she'd go to concerts. And she meets this guy, marries him. He's a up and coming artist. And he comes to our church. And she's like, nice. Yeah, meet my new husband, Ryan Tedder.
Oh yeah,
and he's going to play worship for you.
Yeah, One Direction,
and becomes the lead singer of One Direction.
Yeah. Not One Direction. Sorry,
or One
Republic.
One Republic.
I was thinking Liam Payne because he had passed away. I'd been doing research on him.
Yeah, that was what happened. Is that video real?
Dude, which video? Depends on which video we're talking about.
I've seen a video of a guy jumping out of a window.
Haven't seen that one, so I don't know if that's real or not. I would find it unusual that someone would have that captured at
video?
that moment. The one that is scary is the videos and the pictures of inside the hotel room.
With the drugs.
Yeah, it seems like he was really having some problems. It was originally a 5-day trip. He was there to see Niall Horan perform in Buenos Aires, which is his former bandmate. And that's what I was saying, One Direction. That's what came down my head a minute ago. And he extended that from a 5-day to a 15-day. It was 12 to 15 days. And he's in the process of this right now. And the really scary thing that I found out yesterday was 24 or 48 hours before that, he was cut from his record label. And so now he was loose and he was a free agent, and he has had some success, but not a ton of success. And if you are in that addictive cycle, and if he is in, as it looks like with the stuff that was around the room, that he is absolutely doing some harder drugs, you get into that addictive cycle, you can see where it spirals real quickly into something where he is out of control. And everything that it seems that I'm reading right now is that, yeah, this was a drug-induced episode where he just basically is going, I wouldn't say going crazy, but he's freaking out. He's having a really bad experience with the drugs, and it's feeding that part of him, that anxiety inside of him about no longer having a music label. Can he be relevant? Is he still an artist?
Right.
Is he 31 and his entire career, what he's worked for his entire life, is it now over? Is the dude going to have to go and work at Wegmans or something? I mean, that I can see that anxiety spiraling.
I'm always
real
one
quickly.
day away from working at Wegmans.
Yeah, me too, man. I get it. I'm always looking at which side am I going to put that damn name tag on. I get it. So yeah, that was a scary one with Liam Payne. It's sorry and very sad to see that go, because dude's incredibly talented, but also seemed to have a lot of demons that we may not know about. So
I mean, he's at the top of Drudge right now. Record label dumped Payne before he jumped from balcony. Another victim of celebrity culture.
Yeah.
They're looking for his drug dealer.
Oh yeah, they are. And the question is, who was it that was there inside of Buenos Aires with him, and how to get a hold of it? Because they had stuff in. He had remnants inside the bathtub, in addition to there on the floor and in and around the tables, from what I've seen and read. That this was something. And the fact that he's involved, I mean, this seems to be something more along the kin of either heroin or meth, something that's really much harder, based on the fact that what he was using, based on just the paraphernalia and stuff that was there. He wasn't just, smoking pot and doing alcohol, and even not probably doing mushrooms, even like that. I mean, he seems to be doing even, I think, something much, much, much more harder. So my guess is he's probably, there's something that's near heroin or a meth or something along there, or he's into ketamine, is my guess, is where it was. Yeah.
Sad, very sad. Well, Bill, glad to have you back. We've got an absolutely jam-packed show for you today. Rich Sokol is going to be joining us in the 7 o'clock hour live in studio on Sinwar's death, the guy who masterminded October 7th attack against Israel. He was no longer alive. They dropped a drone bomb on him.
Did you see the pictures and the videos?
Dude, that picture
is
crazy.
And the video they had afterwards too. They've got one where after it hits, the drone flies into the building, and they and they think they've got his last few moments alive. That he's like underneath some of the rubble, and he's kind of this, and he actually has, and it looks like he has some sort of, it's either a staff, a sword, or something that he goes and he like tries to toss towards the drone, and then just kind of goes like this and falls over a little bit, and is almost, and so you're like, it's probably not dying right there, but he's pretty close to death at that point. It's really crazy. It's absolutely out of the movies. It all of a sudden the drone comes in and just goes and flies right into the big open hole that's left in the wall, and there he is under some of the rubble pinned there.
Jeez. Yeah, I've seen the picture. I'll have to go look up that video. Maybe we'll try to put it on the X account. You can follow me on X at jeffhunt. X.com, Jeff Hunt. We'll try to get that up there. But I've definitely seen the pictures. If you just type in Sinwar into X, you'll find the pictures of his dead body.
Yeah.
So we'll talk to Rich Sokol 7 o'clock hour. In the 8 o'clock hour, we're going to dive into ranked choice voting. This is Proposition 131 and the problems it could bring to the state of Colorado. Candace is going to be joining us. She's a Republican Canvas board member for El Paso County. She'll be joining us in the 8 o'clock hour. And then your favorite poet laureate in the 9 o'clock hour, Jeff Hildebrandt, plus all the news and updates that you need to hear. Let's start with that. By the way, good morning, Blake Olson.
Hey, good morning, Jeff. Welcome back, Billy, and this Porter Robinson. Wow, that was pretty good stuff. I'm looking forward to checking him out. Yeah, no, that was good. So it's Porter Robinson.
Yeah, Porter Robinson.
Okay, I like that.
In fact, there's a weird thing that happened a number of years ago where, based on he was making a change in some of his music, he deleted the vast majority of his music catalog online. He basically pushed the reset button a number of years ago.
You're kidding me.
But he did it purposefully, and everyone went, what are you doing? And there's a reason. I won't go into it. There's a reason behind it, and a bunch of things that he did musically. Yeah, dude's very interesting, but again, never going to be played on the radio, and it's a tragedy.
Good stuff. I'm shocked that it's not on the radio. When you played it, I was like, wow, it sounds like radio stuff to me. But what do I know? I'm way too old for all that, but you're the coolest dad in the world, Billy, no doubt. 49 and partly cloudy in Denver, expecting a high of 58 today, the 710 5-day forecast coming up. Our top story, Colorado is warning drivers about this weekend snowstorm. Anyone planning a trip to the southern mountains may want to reconsider. Weather experts say roads, bridges, and overpasses will likely be slippery, making travel difficult to impossible. The most dangerous spot could be along Highway 160 over Wolf Creek Pass. Hopes for a ceasefire in the Middle East are coming to an end as Israel Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu vows to press on with the wars in Gaza and Lebanon. This after President Biden said Thursday that now was a good time for a Gaza ceasefire following that killing of Hamas leader Yahya Sinwar that actually happened right as we were going off the air yesterday morning. With Election Day less than 3 weeks away, former President Trump will hold a rally in downtown Detroit today. Kamala Khan will also be in Michigan, campaigning in Oakland County. Now, last night, Trump at the Al Smith dinner, for the first time since '84, the Democratic candidate turns him down. Mondale did it in '84. Jeff asked me about that on Thursday. Harris opted not to take part last night, but the jokes written for Trump were very good.
We're going to bail out the looters and rioters in Minneapolis, and she would have been here, guaranteed. She would have been here, guaranteed. She would have been okay. She would have been okay with that. But I know this isn't my normal crowd tonight because it just isn't. It's not my normal crowd. Believe me, my normal crowd is younger, has a lot more energy.
And then here were the written jokes, a couple of them.
There's a group called White Dudes for Harris. Have you seen this? White Dudes for Harris. Anybody know? Are some of you here? White Dudes for Harris? Doesn't sound like it. But I'm not worried about them at all because their wives and their wives' lovers are all voting for me. I guess I just don't see the point of taking shots at myself when other people have been shooting at me for a hell of a long time. They shoot hard.
Like that one. A Denver woman will serve a year and a day in prison after her conviction for a scheme to defraud Amazon. Federal prosecutors announced on Thursday that 37-year-old Tiffany Vo pled guilty to one count of wire fraud in U.S. District Court in Denver. Vo admitted to taking nearly $500,000 by creating false invoices and expense reports and submitting them to her employer. Vo will serve 3 years of supervised release and will have to pay back the stolen funds to Amazon. A Marine Corps veteran says she was humiliated after getting kicked off a Delta Airlines flight because of a T-shirt that she was wearing. Catherine Banks was planning to fly out of San Francisco Wednesday to visit her sister when a flight attendant told her that her shirt was threatening. The shirt read, "Do not give in to the war within. End veteran suicide." Banks said she had to take off the shirt and put on a sweatshirt. Eventually, she was let back onto the plane, which was delayed, causing her to miss her connecting flight. Man, some sensitive flight attendants.
Dude, I have seen way worse stuff on shirts.
Absolutely.
I saw
I'm
an
offended
F-bomb
by
in support of abortion. And
absolutely. Man, I was offended when people start wearing the marijuana leaves on their T-shirts, man. I mean, this is like, are you kidding me? Yeah, it's incredible. News brought to you by Lair Fireplace and Patio, Denver's premier source for everything fireplace, patio, and grills. Locally owned and operated since 1954 online at LairFireplacePatio.com.
Wide,
So much for that.
open. Yeah, Javonte Williams for the touchdown. Goes in untouched.
Javonte Williams, 14 carries, 88 yards, 2 touchdowns, and the Broncos over the Saints 33-10 on the road last night. By the way, Al Michaels is losing it. I don't think he can see. He's up in the press box, and his calls are absolutely horrible. He's one of the greats, but man.
I was listening to the radio broadcast, and the guys, Dave Logan and them were complaining that they were so high up.
Yeah.
That I wonder if it was all the media at that place.
There's a possibility. Usually the TV guys are a little lower.
Yeah.
And I've just noticed it with Michaels because my 8th grader, he keeps on ripping Al Michaels. And I'm like, okay, he has the most historic calls in sports. I mean, he's one of the top 5,
right,
but he's losing it. But when you get up high, man, and you're older like me, it's tough to see the numbers, especially with some of the jerseys, the way they design them now. But that wasn't the issue last night. But yeah, you can get. I'm sure Logan was up way high in the Superdome last night. Typically, when you get that high, I mean, it's sometimes it's tough. But there were like 2 or 3 calls. I'm like, what are you looking at, Al Michaels? And I wasn't even watching the game closely, but. My youngest son likes to rip him, but Broncos win it 33-10. ALCS. Now this was crazy last night. ALCS Game 3, Yankees and Guardians. The Indians, bottom of the 9th, down 2 runs.
No time like the present. Swung out and hammered high, deep to left, away out of here. The ultimate present under the tree. Oh my goodness! John Kinsey Noel, the biggest swing of his life.
So that great call.
What that's an awesome call. I guess I think they were just showing a guy with a Santa Claus hat and beard on, and it worked out perfectly. I mean, what a call, what a hit, and it ties the game. They were down 2, and then it goes to the 10th. And the Indians, I call them the Indians, the Guardians in the 10th.
Such a terrible name.
It's
The Guardians.
Stupid. So dumb. The Indians, here we go. Listen to this.
Winning run at third, 2 down for David Fry. He's walked and struck out. Any way at all here. Swung on, hit high, hit deep to left. There she goes. A walk-off home run. David Fry lights up the Cleveland night.
Wow, a walk-off to win it, and they trailed 2-1 against the Yankees. Those are 2 awesome plays, awesome calls, hits, and ALCS, man, that's when baseball is great.
That is, and that'll wake you up on a Friday morning too.
No
Great
doubt.
audio, Blake.
Thank you. Well, I worked hard to get it, I gotta tell you. 46 in Highlands Ranch, not 47 in Westminster, 49 in Denver. Jeff and Bill continue. TGIF. Billy is back. Blake Olson, News Talk 710 KNUS.
The weather finally changing now here along the Front Range. Temperatures today will be cooler, making the mid to upper 50s, but it's actually going to turn colder as the day wears on, as the front comes in. So falling to the 40s, there will be a chance of showers developing. Showers, maybe a thunderstorm this evening, upper 30s for lows. Cloudy, cool, a few showers, 50s Saturday. A few showers, 50s and 60s Sunday and Sunday night. Weather sponsored by branchplanning.com. Secure your future retirement with a reliable income stream. Annuities can provide guaranteed payments, giving you peace of mind. Get your complimentary review at branchplanning.com or call 303-219-0088. Meteorologist Don Day in the 710 KNUS Weather Center.
Yeah, Bill, I just watched that video of Yahya Sinwar.
What do you think?
And I'm looking at a Wall Street Journal article. That's legit, man.
Yeah, it is. It's moved by Israel. It's legit. Yeah.
Guy walks out. It's just by chance. Guy and some other
Yes, the one
Hamas warriors walk out of a building, fire upon some Israeli soldiers just doing some patrols.
Yeah.
They then order a strike on him from a drone, and then the drone comes in, and this dude's just sitting in a chair, obviously contemplating his life choices.
Like, wow, what are we doing here? And how crazy is it that, again, he hates the Israelis and wants the Jews to die. And he knows, one, they have had the strike, and two, that's their drone. He knows that in his final moments of life, the people who he has dedicated his life to eradicating off the earth are watching him die. That's got to be a really weird sort of self-realization of the bad choices you've made. And the other part is, as Israel said, it was somewhat by accident. They wanted him, but they didn't think he was there.
No, they've been searching for him for over a year.
They didn't think they were talking about. They think some of the hostages that were found executed in the tunnels, they think he was hiding down in those tunnels at the time, that he may have been involved in the execution of those hostages in some way, shape, or form. And they have been searching for him. And they said, we kind of got lucky on this one, that if those soldiers hadn't come out and fired on the other Israeli soldiers, they may never have struck that building, and they may never have got him in the same way. Yeah, this is crazy to think
I posted it on X there. Final moments of Hamas leader Yahya Sinwar captured on drone video. It's a YouTube link there, but
yeah, you got to watch it. It's crazy because
it's not
just
graphic.
Like a movie. No, there's no blood. There's nothing.
It's weird. He's like, this drone. You're right. It's like a movie goes into a building.
Yeah.
It's something. What was that? A Minority Report?
Oh yeah, Minority with Tom Cruise. Yeah,
where they're like scanning the eyeballs and stuff.
Exactly.
It's like that. It goes in there, and there's just a dude sitting on a chair. He's covered in dirt because he just survived not survived, but is in his final moments of life after an airstrike takes place and hits that building. He's just kind of sits there. Then he chucks a stick at the drone.
And he holds the stick up like, threatening, and then just throws it. The drone doesn't even come close to hitting the thing. And you're like, and that's it. He's making one final stand. He's throwing it at the Jews, the people that are ending his life, the people that he dedicated, his life to killing them and eradicating them from the planet. And they're watching him die. That, to me, there's a whole lot of good karma there. A whole lot of
goes
good
around,
karma.
comes around.
Yeah, I like that a lot.
Speaking of that, Rich Sokol, he's an Israeli activist, very active in Republican circles here in Colorado, is going to join us. I ran into an issue where Jews are celebrating a holiday.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah. So I asked Intermountain Jewish News, and got an automatic response that a lot of them are celebrating holidays.
No, that's right, and they won't.
That's what happened on October 7th. You remember?
Yep, that is true. That's why they planned the attack.
Right,
on October 7th was because of that. Which again, think about the protesters that we have across the country. Think about the protesters talking and giving support to Hamas. And I think it's important because it's Hamas that launched the attack. We can talk about treatment of Palestinian people, but that is a separate issue from the war that is going on right now because of Hamas's attack. For me, it's a totally separate issue. That the people that are out there protesting, that are putting their support behind Hamas, are doing it to an organization that chose a religious holiday to make the attack. Come on. Do you understand who you're supporting? We have that story that is one of the best ones. I believe it's is it World War II or World War I? I want to say it's World War I, I believe, where they're fighting. And it's on right around Christmas, and the two sides come forward and they play a short soccer match in the demilitarized zone right before, because just to join, and they kind of spend some time
they spend
with each other. Yep. And they do it, and then they go back to fighting afterwards. That's different. Those people chose not to shoot at each other on an important holiday.
Hold on.
Hamas.
But Bill, I gotta bring this up.
Please do.
The founder of our country crossed the Delaware on Christmas morning to capture the Hessians while they were hanging out celebrating a holiday.
Okay, that's true. That's true too. However, what it was though is he did go after the Hessians, which was a military organization.
Exactly.
He didn't
difference.
He didn't on Christmas morning show up in Whoville and start shooting people in the head. Totally different. totally different. Yeah.
Yes.
Different.
Very different. One attacked a bunch of mercenaries, thinking they were going to get to sleep in that morning.
Yeah, exactly.
And the other one were like, hey, look at those people enjoying a concert.
Yeah.
Let's just go
there.
ruin their lives, murder
different.
and rape them.
Yep.
So very different.
Yep. Very different.
Well, we've got a whole lot to cover, including when we come back, Biden and Obama during Ethel Kennedy's service. They weren't mic'd up, but someone hired a lip reader. New York Post hired a lip reader, and you'll never guess what they were saying. They think, talking about Kamala Harris, not good. We'll continue. You're listening to The Jeff and Bill Show.
Denver's talk leader, News Talk 710, KNUS.
At this hour, I'm Christina Owayo in Dallas, and here are your top stories.
The state of Florida has filed a lawsuit against the Biden-Harris administration over migrant voting information. According to the lawsuit, the administration's refusal to hand over the immigration records is preventing the state from making sure non-citizens do not vote in the presidential election and frustrating its ability to maintain the voter integrity of its elections. The suit asserts that the federal government has an obligation to cooperate with the states to make sure only citizens vote, but they are failing to do so. In fact, the state says that DHS actually denied their request for information. Florida Attorney General Ashley Moody saying, quote, voting is a right granted to American citizens, not illegal migrants or other non-citizens. The Biden-Harris administration has allowed millions of illegal migrants into the country, and we must ensure that only citizens are on our voter rolls. A judge has overturned changes to Georgia election rules made by the state board. Judge Thomas Cox struck down half a dozen new rules that were described by the board as necessary election security measures. Cox said the rules, including ones that empowered local officials to investigate irregularities in the ballots, contradicted state law. Cox's ruling is final, however, it could be appealed. The judge directed the election board to immediately remove the new rules from its rolls and inform election officials that they were invalid.
That's what you need to know at this hour. In Dallas, Christina Owayo, Salem News Channel.
Welcome back to the Jeff and Bill show on this Friday, October 18th. New York Post, Biden tells Obama, she's not as strong as me. And ex-pres agrees that's true at Ethel Kennedy's service. New York Post hired a lip reader. Here's what they reported. So this was a non-mic'd conversation, just cameras at Ethel Kennedy's funeral, filming President Biden and Barack Obama talking together. President Biden griped to former President Barack Obama that she is not as strong as me, with Obama agreeing that's true. In a stunning off-mic conversation deciphered for the Post by a professional lip reader, the apparent candid assessment of Vice President Kamala Harris's standings going into the November 5th election occurred Wednesday afternoon as America's two most recent Democratic presidents conversed at Ethel Kennedy's memorial service in Washington. She's not as strong as me, said Biden, 81, according to the translation, which was produced by analyzing the on-video lip movements during the discussion. Yeah, we'll get it in time, said Biden, who was forced by fellow Democrats to relinquish the party's nomination in favor of Harris on July 21st in a mutiny that Obama was believed to have supported. Obama agreed. I know, that's true. We have time. Moments earlier, Obama said, it's important that we have some time together, a possible reference to campaigning alongside Harris. Although Harris's name was not included in the transcription, it's unclear to whom else the conversation could have pertained. The translator described the conversation as, quote, very supportive, and he detected no tension between Obama and Biden, as had been speculated in viral commentary due to Obama shaking his head at one point. Democrat sources were divided when asked about the translation, with some saying they believe that it was an honest take on the state of the 2024 race, and others expressing such strong disbelief that they questioned the accuracy of the script. Interesting. Do you think Kamala's in trouble? Would love to hear from you. Feel free to text the show on the Dan Caplis Law text line at 720-819-5115. And can Barack Obama save Kamala Harris at this moment? I don't know if he has the impact that he used to. And I don't think the voters are coalescing around Kamala Harris in the way that they need to be doing in order for her to win. But look, this is something that I was thinking about this morning that I get concerned about. Am I in such a silo because advertising in America has gotten so siloed, right? They don't do much big broadcast advertising compared to what they used to. You only see ads. They only target people who are likely to vote for them. Candidates are not going to waste their money going after voters that aren't going to support them. So I don't see the Kamala Harris ads. Maybe you do. I see some Trump ads out there, but I also live in Colorado. It's not a targeted state. I think Kamala Harris is in trouble. I think Biden and Obama recognize it. Obama could probably try to come to her rescue a little bit. You could see him coming out there and shaming the young black men for not supporting a black female candidate. But at the end of the day, I don't think it's going to be enough. So Bill's working on some phone line issues. We'll get that up and running here in a second. But I do want to talk to you about my good friends over at Empower Home. Oh, man, Gay Ribble is awesome. We've had her in the studio a few times here. Incredibly knowledgeable when it comes to the housing market. And that matters because if you're like me, you have no sense of this is a good time to buy or not. The interest rates, are they going to drop? Are they going to stay the same? Do we just need to accept where we are right now? Gay Ribble can help you all with all that. But here's something that's really important. Did you know that last year, over 49% of homes listed did not sell with the real estate agent who took the initial listing? This cost home sellers thousands of dollars in lower offers and painful holding costs. Gay Ribble and the Empower Home team of Keller Williams have a track record of selling homes fast and get their home sellers 6.1% more money on average, netting their sellers $30,500 more in their pocket. They do this using their proven proprietary system and guarantees. Go with the team that doesn't just make empty promises, but can actually provide proof of their experience and track record of getting homes sold for top dollar. We all got friends, family members that want to be real estate agents, are real estate agents, want your business. At the end of the day, this is a business deal for your family. You need to get the most you can. Gay Ribble and the Empower Home team is so confident in the services they provide and the results they get you that if you're not happy, you can cancel at any time, no cost to you. This is their cancellation promise. Call 833-301-SOLD, 833-301-SOLD, or visit gayasthebuyers.com. That's GAYE hasthebuyers.com. We'll continue. You choose the news. Coming up, you're listening to The Jeff and Bill Show. Denver's
Talk Leader, News Talk 710 KNUS. Helps if I put on the microphone.
Bill, we had a great time yesterday, even though you weren't here.
I will try not to take that
Conservative
personally.
Mama Rachel joined us, had a lot of fun.
Yeah, I
Great
watched a little bit of
callers,
it.
good
Yeah.
conversation, but we missed You Choose the News because nobody can do it like you, Bill.
Oh, thank you so much. Well, it is a special loser edition. Yes, I was a loser and wasn't here yesterday, but today we bring back those other stories.
You are one pathetic loser.
Let's go. Loser! You're a loser!
The Losers Club. Bunch of losers.
You're such a loser. You made me feel like a loser!
She's a loser. You are such a loser. Loser.
Yes, these are the stories that were deemed unworthy of our attention earlier today, bringing them back for a second chance of glory to play America's favorite fake radio news game show, You Choose the News. Yes, this is the moment of the morning where we are left totally unsupervised. Nobody in charge is awake yet. Well, I had to wake someone up on the phone system, but they're not actually listening to the program right now. They're working on the phones. So we have a moment of silliness and frivolity that we call You Choose the News. You know how this works. I go through the interwebs, find really dumb stories about us humans, give them headlines to play this fake radio news game show. All righty, gentlemen, Blake Olson, Jeff Hunt, here are your choices this morning, sir. Cheating in the eye of the beholder. Headline number 2, using his head. Headline number 3, not as sexy as it sounds. And headline number 4, expect lots of reruns. Mr. Hunt, your choice.
Let's start with the reruns.
Yes, expect lots of reruns. Here we are traveling to lovely Afghanistan. The Taliban-run media companies have said, well, there are new rules, ladies and gentlemen, as far as what you can broadcast. The rules, oddly enough, are not very clear, but it seems to prohibit broadcasting any living things. And that's how the news organizations are interpreting it. So other than just their regular like news readers, they're not broadcasting of living things. They're doing nature videos and stuff like that. They're just basically going, and I'm thinking you had to go back to reruns. Things like the Lucy, I Love Lucy, because they're both dead. So I mean, that's pretty much what you got to do. Run like things, you know, reruns of Bonanza. I mean, what are you going to do? Because, yeah, but no living things is what they're doing. And so basically the rule is just written so broad that if they dislike what you're doing, they're going to use it as the rule to get you. That's what they're doing.
Oh, gotcha.
Yeah, they're just making it so broad. But yeah, the idea is they said no living things. So yes, some of their regular news programs are now only running nature videos saying, well, it's just grass and trees. And okay, fine. They're not necessarily beings. So that's what we got to do. Yes.
Sounds like the FCC's very broad rules with regards to Starlink.
Could be. All righty. Now, Blake Olson in the newsroom. Your choice, sir. Cheating in the eye of the beholder, using his head, or not as sexy as it sounds?
Since you're a soccer player, let's go with using his head.
Using his head. Oddly enough, this is not a soccer story here. We are in Blake's world with football. Oklahoma State coach Mike Gundy wasn't available for his typical in-person press conference this week.
I'm a man.
Yeah, he had a problem. Gundy chose instead to answer media questions over Zoom rather than in person because of a little incident that happened at home. He was butting heads with someone at the house. But it wasn't his wife, nor is it his kids. It was his cattle. While he was tending some of the cattle, one of the cattle turned around and banged him in the head. Yes, he got a cattle headbutt. And if you know how big those cattle heads are, not good. In fact, he had a very bad eye. His left eye was really swollen and he got a big black eye. Yeah. The nice thing is you don't see it because he actually is off this week. He has a bye week and he's going to be back in action against BYU next week.
Ooh, that's a big game.
Yeah. So what he did is he kind of sat back and he goes, no, I don't have to do this in person, anything else. And he goes, none of you really want to see me or I shouldn't be doing this. Also, because of the injury, he can't do a lot of physical activity. He's been told to lie down a lot as well, just to worry about swelling and other stuff. Yes, but he had a cow headbutt.
That is amazing. He has one of the most famous sound bites ever. I'm a man. I'm a man. I'm 40.
Yes.
So that I'm a man. I'm 40. I'll try to find that, but that works
fantastic.
Perfectly for that.
Yes, that does. And I still love the idea that it's like, why aren't you coming to head today? You're like, why can't you come to work? He's like, cow headbutted me. Like,
that's awesome.
Hang on.
Only in Oklahoma.
Yes, only in Oklahoma would that be a reason to call him sick.
When you have livestock, you just never know. We've got one male goat that if he decided to unleash, it could result in some pain.
Oh man,
he's intense, man. and just goes at you, and you like got to get the kids out of the pen and all that stuff.
Geez.
So yeah.
Football coaches teach you not to lead with your head.
Yeah.
But
And what did he do?
cows and goats don't care.
That's exactly right.
Just pow. And like, ow,
Man.
jeez. I know.
I didn't see that. I'm glad you told me that.
Oh, good. You have to look for it. All right.
Yeah.
And final choice this morning, Mr. Hunt. Cheating in the eye of the beholder or not as sexy as it sounds?
Cheating in the eye of the beholder.
Yeah, it's cheating just in the eye of the beholder. A family at Hingham High School in Hingham, Massachusetts is suing the school because the student has been accused of cheating. Now, did they actually do the whole plagiarism thing? But parents Jennifer and Dale Harris say, while our student may have used AI, it isn't technically prohibited on his history paper, so he should not have been labeled a cheater. And in fact, they are so upset, and this is why they're thinking that he won't get into a school of choice. That his life
then
will
he
be
shouldn't
changed
use
forever.
AI.
It's just
Don't
going to be
use AI.
changed. It's punishment. It is not fair to a little bundle of joy. He's not going to get
So,
into Yale or Harvard or nothing. Have to go somewhere lower like Columbia.
We had conversations about this at the
Yeah.
university I used to work at, just as AI was coming up,
Yeah.
and how are you going to deal with it? So in many ways, AI is just like a calculator, but for English, right?
Yes.
It makes math, calculators made math so much easier, and AI can make English so much easier. But yeah, it is a form of plagiarism because you didn't write the original content.
Exactly.
And
And
so-
it pulled from other people's work. So
Yes,
it's already pulling
exactly.
from everybody else.
Exactly. And but I understand, like, people, like, I used it one time for a fundraising email.
Yeah.
I was like, talk about how great the Centennial Institute is and why people should donate. And it was like, here's your fundraising email. All right, here you go.
Yeah.
Stuck it and sent it out. But when you're writing original content and you have to turn it in,
Yeah.
and now they have all this software that analyzes kids' work
Yep.
to see if they're plagiarizing.
Yeah, because
and-
looking for a
and that
certain
type
number of
stuff.
words in a row, and it scrapes the internet, and so it looks for it has somebody else typed these 7 or 8, and you can put parameters on it.
Right.
Or have you used this phraseology before? Yeah, and you can look at it that way. And this is the funny part is, of course, that the parents are saying, and I love this one from Dad, Dale. He says, in my lay opinion, they have violated my students' civil rights.
No,
Civil
they
rights.
didn't.
Civil rights by not allowing the person to use AI in order to help them create the paper.
That's ridiculous.
That is not the person's civil rights. You do not have a civil right to
Thank
steal
you.
from other people. That's not part of it.
No,
Yeah.
you
No,
don't.
no, and that's what AI is in English. It's stealing from
So
other people.
I heard one teacher
Yeah.
put into the prompt, but
Yeah.
invisible, the word pirate.
Oh,
And so when the kid would copy and throw it in there, it'd be like the prompt would be like, tell us who you want to be when you grow
Yeah.
older. And then they would secretly put in pirate there. So all the essays that came back about being a pirate
Interesting.
oh,
when
that's
you
great.
got older
That's smart.
were flagged for being just copied and put into AI stuff.
That is really, really smart. That's really
That
smart. And I think
is.
I've told the story before. This is in college. A person that was on the basketball team ended up having some problems and discipline and was removed from the team. And I think eventually ended up de-enrolling from the school because of plagiarism.
No way.
Yeah.
Not a basketball.
No, never.
player.
Now, here's how good it was. Okay, here's what happened. He had turned in his final paper and turned it in, and had copied it almost word for word from another source, including the dedication of the author to his wife and family, of which the basketball player had neither. So again, the professor had to
perfect.
go to page
Dude,
one to figure out that it was a plagiarism.
I was in a classroom with all the basketball players in college, and they all got
Yeah.
busted for cheating.
Okay, that's it. That's the end of You Choose the News. Enough of the silliness. Back to the regular
All
portion
right,
of the
Rich
show.
Sokol's coming up next. You're listening to the Jeff and Bill Show.
Denver's Talk Leader, News Talk 710, KNUS.
morning, Denver, Colorado. You've tuned into the Jeff and Bill Show, News Talk 710 KNUS. I'm your co-host, Jeff Hunt, along with Bill Thorpe, bringing you the freshest insights, hottest takes from the right, left, and center. Congratulations. You're waking up in the greatest country in history. We're gearing up for a whole nother hour of engaging discussions, critical analysis, but most importantly, your calls and texts, because this is where Denver's voice is heard loud and clear. So grab a cup of coffee, Denver. Let's dive into the issues that matter most to you right here, right now. Coming up after the news and comment with Blake Olson, Rich Sokol, friend of the show, is going to join us live in studio. Big day as Yahya Sinwar is no more. We'll be talking about how that came together. What does that mean for the people of Israel and the ongoing war there? Not going to want to miss this conversation. It's going to be fantastic. But first, news and comment with Blake Olson. Good morning, Blake.
Morning, Jeff and Billy. 47 and partly cloudy in Denver, expecting a high of 58 today. The 7-10 5-day forecast coming up. Our top story, Kamala Khan is the first presidential candidate since 1984 for you young people, and Walter Mondale to skip a major charity event in New York City. GOP candidate Donald Trump was at last night's Alfred Smith dinner, an event where politicians make jokes about each other. They read the jokes by great writers to raise money for Catholic charities. Harris was instead campaigning in Wisconsin. Here's some of what Trump read last night.
I'm supposed to tell a few self-deprecating jokes this evening. So here it goes. Nope, I've got nothing.
That was a good one. I like this one. I think this is my favorite.
Coming in very, very strong a certain way. I won't tell you what way that is, but Chuck Schumer is here looking very glum. Doesn't he look glum? It looks glum. But look on the bright side, Chuck, considering how woke your party has become. If Kamala loses, you still have a chance to become the first woman president.
And Gretchen Whitmer, governor of Michigan, earlier in the week, she was ripping Catholics in communion, and then he read this one.
All polls are indicating I'm leading big with the Catholic vote, as I should be. But I don't think Kamala has given up yet. She hasn't. Instead of attending tonight, she's in Michigan receiving communion from Gretchen Whitmer.
That was a good one. All right, hopes for a ceasefire in the Middle East are coming to an end as Israel Prime Minister Netanyahu vows to press on with the wars in Gaza and Lebanon. On Thursday, President Biden said now was a good time for a Gaza ceasefire following the death of Hamas leader Yahya Sinwar on Wednesday. The Prime Minister of Great Britain is paying tribute to the late Liam Payne. Prime Minister Keir Starmer on Thursday, I think that's how you pronounce his name, expressed his sincere condolences to family and friends of the British singer. The 31-year-old former One Direction member died Wednesday after a fall from a hotel balcony in Argentina. Colorado is warning drivers about this weekend snowstorm. Anyone planning a trip to the southern mountains may want to reconsider. Weather experts say roads, bridges, and overpasses will likely be slippery, making travel difficult to impossible. The most dangerous spot could be along Highway 160 over Wolf Creek Pass. Up to, there's no doubt about that, usually is, up to 2 feet of snow is forecast for elevations above 9,000 feet, even more for the La Garita Mountains and the eastern San Juan Mountains. A winter storm watch starts this morning and runs through Sunday. The city of Denver will be adding more than 13,000 homes to its composting service. The Denver Department of Transportation and Infrastructure announced on Thursday that homes in Park Hill, Central Park, and parts of East Colfax will join the service next month.
2nd and 10, look out. And is that going to be a fumble, which is taken by Barton in the air? There's no whistle yet. And Barton, what a night this guy's having. Jaquan McMillan is the guy who hits Rattler as the ball is being released, and for the moment, ruled a touchdown.
Yeah, it was an interception. They ruled it an interception, whatever. Fumble, interception in the air. Took it to the house. Touchdown, Broncos. Javonte Williams, 14 carries, 88 yards, 2 touchdowns. And the Broncos over the Saints last night, 33-10 in the Superdome. ALCS Game 3, Yankees and Guardians, Indians. Bottom of the ninth, down 2 runs.
No time like the present. Swung out and hammered. High, deep to left. Away out of here. The ultimate present under the tree. Oh my goodness. John Kinsey Noel. The biggest swing of his life.
Ties it in the ninth, and then it goes to the 10th inning against the Yankees.
Winning run at third, 2 down for David Fry. He's walked and struck out. Any way at all here. Swung on, hit high, hit deep to left. There she goes. A walk-off home run. David Fry lights up the Cleveland.
Man, that had to have been one of the greatest feelings of all time. 7-5 Indians in 10. All right, here's Coach Gundy. You were talking about Coach Gundy earlier with the cow, Billy.
Come after me. I'm a man. I'm 40.
I think that's what he said to the cow.
I think so too.
Yeah.
I think so too. I think he's 50 now. He has to be like
great.
52 or 53 or something like that.
Yeah.
I'll find out.
If you were going to if you had to nominate, who is the one head coach that is going to get headbutted by a cow? Probably the guy's going, I'm a man, come after me.
That's
like,
right.
Maybe that guy.
How
Maybe that's the one.
appropriate.
Yes, I love that.
That's awesome.
That is beautiful.
45, thank you. 45 in Centennial, 46 in Brighton, 47 in Denver. Jeff and Bill continue. TGIF, Blake Olson News Talk, 710 KNUS.
The weather finally changing now here along the Front Range. Temperatures today will be cooler, making the mid to upper 50s, but it's actually going to turn colder as the day wears on, as the front comes in. So falling to the 40s, there will be a chance of showers developing. Showers, maybe a thunderstorm this evening, upper 30s for lows. Cloudy, cool, a few showers, 50s Saturday. A few showers, 50s and 60s Sunday and Sunday night. Weather sponsored by branchplanning.com. Secure your future retirement with a reliable income stream. Annuities can provide guaranteed payments, giving you peace of mind. Get your complimentary review at branchplanning.com or call 303-219-0088. Meteorologist Don Day in the 710 KNUS Weather Center.
The Jeff and Bill Show, live in studio. If you want to see a smiling face, you can go to YouTube, X, or Rumble. 710 KNUS is Rich Sokol. Now, Rich, I've known you for well over a decade now. Got to meet you first when I was working for Mitt Romney and being his coalition's director, and got to meet you there. And then we've been friends ever since. You're active in Republican circles in the state of Colorado, and you're in a great voice in support of Israel, kind of one of my go-to guys to give us some analysis. You've got family members over there, so you're getting regular updates. A lot of that matters. Glad to have you in studio, Rich. Thanks for being here.
Hey, it's great to be here.
And it's a really great day to be here, right?
Yesterday was a very joyous day in the Jewish community, and it shouldn't just be joyous for the Jewish community.
Right.
It should be for everyone in the world. So
that's right.
We say when evil leaves the face of the world, we should all celebrate. And the face of evil literally left the world yesterday.
So who was this guy that was killed? Give people some background on him.
Sure. So Sinwar, the leader of Hamas, has an interesting background story that a lot of people don't know. So first, Yahya Sinwar was the head of Hamas. He was the military mastermind behind the October 7th massacre in Israel. And after Israel killed Haniya, who was the political head. So Hamas is a political organization and a military organization. And Sinwar was head of the military organization. Hania was head of the political organization. Hania is the guy that lived in Qatar in the Four Seasons Hotel with his own plane and lived in incredible luxury, while his people, the Gazans, did not live in the luxury that he lived in.
And I'm sure there was no U.S. dollars that went to his lifestyle.
Yeah, we should all yearn to have his lifestyle, but not his life, because his life is no more, obviously. But Israel killed him several months ago.
Was he the guy
Tehran.
in Iran? Yeah, that they got to.
Right.
And remind us how that happened, if you remember.
Yeah, so Iran has a special guest house for foreign dignitaries, and Sinwar was visiting. I think it was for the inauguration of the new Iranian president. And many months before, Israel had been able to plant a bomb in the room where these dignitaries stayed.
No way.
And they were tracking Hania.
If you're Iranian or a member of Hezbollah, you've just got to be figuring it's coming at any moment. You have no idea. And then when you think of like the pagers and the walkie-talkies too, they got him with a bomb.
Israel obviously
they planted months earlier.
We believe it was a bomb. Israel obviously did not take responsibility and had no comment. But yes, it was apparently a bomb that had been placed months earlier. And we don't know how Israel was able to do it. I mean, Israel has become the phrase a friend used is badass. Right, so you don't want to mess with Israel, and that's great. We want people to know that they shouldn't mess with Israel anymore.
Well, and look, it's not like you guys are trying to conquer other lands. I went to Israel a year ago, last April. Lovely country. Really lovely country in the Middle East. Felt very safe. Felt safer there than I did in Denver, for sure. And first of all, you've got people armed everywhere, right? And groups of like 19-year-old IDF girls hanging out on one corner, M16 slung around their back.
Yep.
You walk down a block, you got a group of 19-year-old boys hanging out, talking, M16 slung around their back. Nice people. And then when you think about the complications of Israel, right, and the Holy Land, you have Muslim sites, Christian sites, Jewish sites. Everybody wants to visit it. Everybody takes their faith seriously. These people going to those sites are not lackadaisical in their faith, right? So it's very intense, and generally everybody gets along. That doesn't happen in Muslim-dominated countries. So Israel it's a Western country. It embraces Western civilization. It practices religious freedom. Generally, it's very safe. It's a good country. I enjoyed my time there.
It's a beautiful country, and I encourage all your listeners, if you ever have a chance to go to Israel, please do. Please go to Jerusalem. When you go to the old city of Jerusalem, where all the holy sites are, Jeff, as you said, it is bustling, and there are Christians, there are Muslims, there are Orthodox Jews, all shoulder to shoulder, going to and fro to the religious sites, and the religious sites are open to everyone. That's Unlike when Israel was, when the holy city of the old city of Jerusalem was controlled by Jordan, it was only open to Muslims. It wasn't open to Christians. It wasn't open to Jews. Now under Jewish control, anyone can go anytime, and people forget that Israel itself is 20% Arab Muslim. So, and they're full citizens. Name me another country in the Middle East where everyone has full rights, no matter what your religion is.
Or even women, let alone other religions.
As I say, the only place you can vote if you're an Arab woman in the Middle East is in Israel.
Wow. So, I mean, going back to this guy, Sinwar, you all get attacked on October 7th. Israel gets attacked on October 7th, and it becomes then a high priority to get rid of him. I mean, was it a priority prior to October 7th to rid of him?
Yeah, it was. So Sinwar has been the head of Hamas for decades now. He joined Hamas when he was in his 20s, when Hamas was founded in the late 1980s. And remember, Israel has had skirmishes or outright wars with Hamas periodically every few years, which is why we're so hopeful that this time there can be an end to the permanent cycle of warfare with Hamas. So yes, he's been number one on Israel's list for many, many years. We are so happy that Sinwar is no more. Instead of saying Sinwar, we say Sinwaz. because he is gone.
Yeah, that is true. That is true.
But just to comment on his backstory a little bit, because I think it's interesting. It shows you the difference between Israel and its Arab neighbors. So Sinwar was actually in an Israeli jail for many, many years. He was jailed for killing 2 Israeli soldiers and 4 Palestinians. Prior to being head of Hamas, Sinwar was in charge of the group in Hamas that weeded out and tried to kill collaborators. Anyone who collaborated with Israel, Sinwar's group was in charge of killing. So he directly tortured himself 4 Palestinians and killing them for collaborating with Israel. Sinwar was born in Gaza in a city called KNUS. So he was known in the Middle East as the butcher of KNUS, even among his own people. So he got arrested. He was tried in an Israeli court, and he was sentenced to life in Israel. And he was in an Israeli prison for, I believe, 23 years, where he learned Hebrew. He studied the Israeli culture. He knew Israel very, very well. How did he get out? Because he had a life sentence. So in 2011, 2 Hamas guys crossed the border and killed 2 Israeli soldiers and kidnapped an Israeli soldier and took that Israeli soldier back to Gaza. That Israeli soldier's name, if your listeners remember, was Gilad Shalit. And in a prisoner exchange okayed by Netanyahu, Israel released over 1,000 prisoners, terrorists in its jails, to get back the 1 Israeli soldier. And among those 1,000, it was almost 1,100, among those 1,000 plus prisoners was Yahya Sinwar. He was released in the prisoner exchange. So Israel had him and actually let him go. That shows you the value of life that Israel puts on its people and getting back its people. Now, we could argue, was this smart? Was this not smart? The debate rages today in Israel. One other thing, when Sinwar was in an Israeli prison, he was found to have a brain tumor. And Israel operated on him and saved his life. So Israel operates on Palestinian prisoners, even ones who killed Israelis.
Talking with Rich Sokol, he's an Israeli activist here in Colorado, family members over in Israel. He's been very active in Republican circles for decades now. So you probably recognize that name, Rich Sokol, joining us. So Rich, let's talk about how they found him. How did this all come together?
So, I would say it was by pure chance. My rabbi would say it was by the grace of God. It was God's will. And what happened was there was a unit who was going in Rafah, which is the city on the southernmost border of Gaza. It actually borders Egypt. And that's where we believed many of the Hamas leadership was hiding in the tunnels.
By the way, Rafah, Joe Biden said don't go into, right?
Exactly. So terrible mistake by Joe Biden.
Yes.
Thank God Israel went into Rafah and cleaned it out. Joe Biden didn't want the Israelis to go into Rafah because he thought there would be incredible civilian deaths. Israel was able to move the civilians to safety. Israel set up a humanitarian zone. And in under 2 weeks, Israel was able to move 1 million citizens, 1 million Gazans who were not combatants out of harm's way into the humanitarian zone. Then Israel went into Rafah. And Israel, which was the last stronghold of Hamas, and Israel was able to wipe out the last battalion of Hamas in Rafah. Anyway, so in Rafah, there was this group of soldiers. Actually, they were very junior soldiers. Their job was to go around and they were looking for booby trap buildings and to find the booby traps and disarm them. And so they saw this building that they thought was empty. They noticed they saw movement inside. They saw 3 terrorists inside the building, which they thought was empty. They engaged the terrorist and they were shot. Israel had no idea that one of the terrorists was Sinwar.
The terrorists were shot by the Israelis.
By the Israelis.
Yeah. Wow.
So.
And didn't know who they were, right? But then did they order a strike on that?
So as normal practice, because the Israeli soldiers didn't know if there were more terrorists inside the building. So Israel is very protective of its soldiers. So rather than having the soldiers go in and there's a lot of blind corners and they could be ambushed or the building could be booby trapped, they ordered a tank to fire upon the building to destroy the building. The building was empty. There was no civilians in it. So after they shot the terrorists, they then ordered the tank to fire mortars into the building. And for some of you who may have seen the drone footage, you could see that the building has been hit.
Yeah,
and,
it's like half open.
right. And Sinwar, they're all covered in debris. So we don't know exactly how Sinwar died, if it was from the bullets or it was from the collapse of the building. But in fact, Israeli troops killed him or shot and destroyed the building on Wednesday morning. They didn't go into the building until Thursday morning. So he wasn't found till Thursday morning.
And the drone footage is wild because this drone goes into this building. It's like out of a movie or something. And by the way, all those kids playing video games, you totally have a future career in the military with drones. But it goes into the building, and there's this dude just quietly, barely moving, sitting on a chair, like a reclining chair. He's covered in dirt. It looks like part of his arm's missing from it. You can't really see his face. His face is covered by a cloth. And then he chucks a stick at the drone. But it looks like a guy pondering his life choices at the end of his life. Maybe I didn't make the best decision here with what I chose to do.
Well, when you're about to meet your maker, you don't know. I have no idea what thoughts go through your head, but I'm sure he was pondering what comes next.
Well, to Bill's point, we were talking last hour, he's sitting there going, looking at an Israeli drone, knowing he had dedicated his life to the eradication of Jews off the face of the earth. And the last thing he sees is an Israeli drone. That'll make you think twice.
God is good.
So what's the reaction of the Jewish community in this?
So for us, great celebration, as we all should celebrate. We are taught that whenever evil is eradicated and an enemy is defeated, of course, you should rejoice. With that said, though, we still remember in the back of our heads that we're all God's creatures and we're all created in the image of God. So we need to temper our joy and our celebration. And publicly, it should be very muted because we are all God's creatures. But man, when we heard the news, there was a smile on all our faces. This was great news.
So let's talk about where this conflict continues to go from here. I don't think Israel can be in a two-state solution with enemies that want their eradication. You can't go back to October 6th. There was a ceasefire in place. We all learned that living on October 6th is just living with a neighbor that's building, and waiting to strike innocent civilians the moment that they can. So there has to be a whole new chapter in light of this, right?
We certainly hope so. Jeff, Netanyahu said yesterday, the prime minister of Israel, said that this is the beginning of the end of the war and hopefully of the conflict in Gaza. Now, we don't know whether that's true or not, but yes, as you say, there's no going back to the way it was on October 6th. Israel can no longer stand this cycle of violence where Hamas attacks Israelis, they send mortars, they send rockets into Israel, Israel retaliates, there's a war for 1 or 2 weeks, then there's a ceasefire, Hamas regroups, Hamas rearms. 2 years later, Hamas attacks, and we go through the whole cycle again. That is an intolerable situation. Think about here in the U.S. Like, let's say, Arizona got bombed every 2 years from Mexico. Would we just say ceasefire, ceasefire, ceasefire? No, we would try and find a permanent solution so people could live in Arizona in safety and send their kids to school without wondering if their school was going to be bombed that day.
I mean, and this is the $1 million question. Can there be a permanent solution? Because Rich, you and I have talked. I spent 4 days with Palestinian protesters outside the DNC. You want to see something. I was talking to Peter Boyles about this. It was like being around a grizzly bear with the Palestinians because they could turn so fast and go from like kind of happy, not happy, but like just, not angry to like rage filled. And it took somebody walking by with an Israel flag. I mean, I don't see a people that are looking to live peacefully with the Jews.
No. And unfortunately, the Palestinians are taught from the time they're little kids to hate Jews, to hate Israelis. So one example I always point out, I saw a Palestinian textbook once, and it was teaching math to little kids. And the paragraph in the math textbook for little kids, for Palestinian kids, read, there are 5 Israeli settlers. A jihadist kills 3 of them. How many Israeli settlers are left? And that's how they're taught math. And they're taught that jihad is the way. Yeah. And unfortunately, the worst thing you could call a Palestinian kid, on the playground, if you really want to get under his skin, you call that Palestinian kid a collaborator with Israel. That is the worst insult you can say.
Well, I listened to the IDF audio that they captured of cell phone calls on October 7th from the Hamas fighters back to their family members. And it's, Mom, I got 2 Jews. Mm-hmm. Mom, I got 2 Jews. Good job, honey. Good job. Go get 2 more. You're making your family so proud. Right. I don't know how you live anywhere near people like that.
And that's why we just hope for a cold peace. There will never be warmth. I don't want to say never. The entire education system has to change within the Arab populations in the West Bank and Gaza and Lebanon. They need leaders who will finally step up and say it is time to make peace with the Jews. We may not like them, but we're better off with peace. We have to hope that Arab leader doesn't get killed right away. And by the way, I wouldn't, sell life insurance to that Arab leader, whoever wants to make peace with Israel, because his lifespan is likely to be very short. The culture of hate in the Arab world has to change. Now, can we change that? No. Jews can't change it. Americans can't change it. It has to come from within. Will it come from within? Your guess is as good as mine. I mean, there's nothing that we see that leads you to believe it's going to happen.
I interviewed one Palestinian leader, and I actually kind of appreciated his candor, right? Mm-hmm. Because you get all this kind of obfuscated stuff out there that kind of tries to hide their true intent. And we sat down and had a good conversation, and he goes, well, we believe Islam is the one true religion. Mm-hmm. And we are advocating for world dominance of Islam. We're going to start in the Middle East, and it starts with the Jews, but then it will go to Africa, Asia, and Western Europe. And I'm like, well, how do Christians and Jews live in that world? And they're like, we'll allow you to live, but we make all the choices. Mm-hmm. And then I'm like, well, okay, I'm going to put myself in the shoes of a Democrat here in America. What about the LGBT community in your Islam dominated world? And he's like, oh, we won't have anything to do with that. You won't be allowed. You won't even be allowed to live. Right. And so it is a clash of civilizations that is taking place. And when you go, well, let's just all hope we get along, or you say stuff, not you, Rich, but when the left says, like, I'm looking at Joe Biden's leadership on this, you have to be real sober in the fact that the Islamists want not just total domination of the Jewish people and the eradication of them off the face of the earth, but of the entire globe. Be sober, you Democrats, you libs in America, as to what is really taking place here. So, we're talking with Rich Sokol, Israeli activist, about the death of Sinwar that took place, the military leader of Hamas. We're going to continue this conversation. I want to tell you about a great event that's coming up here at Colorado Christian University on November 15th. The 48th Vice President of the United States, Mike Pence, his wife, former Second Lady Karen Pence, in partnership with the Centennial Institute and CCU President Eric Hogue, this event offers a unique opportunity to engage in conversation with Vice President Pence, one of America's most dedicated public servants, sharing his insights on the future of the conservative movement. Remember, this will be November 15th, 10 days after the election. There'll be a lot of analysis you can hear directly from Mike Pence. Be among the first to experience the new Armstrong Center as CCU launches its President Speaker Series on this historic occasion. Go to ccu.edu/Pence to get tickets and learn more. Limited tickets are available for breakfast with Karen Pence, lunch with Mike Pence, and morning and evening lectures. Throughout the day, you'll engage in conversation on leadership, faith, and service with these distinguished guests. Please join CCU on November 15th for these events with Mike and Karen Pence. Go to ccu.edu/Pence to get tickets and learn more. That's ccu.edu/Pence. We'll continue our conversation with Rich Sokol on this historic day after the death of Sinwar, the military leader of Hamas. You're not going to want to miss it. You're listening to The Jeff and Bill Show.
Denver's talk leader, News Talk 710, KNUS.
At this hour, I'm Christina Ohio in Dallas, and here are your top stories.
A doctor in North Texas has allegedly violated the law by providing gender transition treatments to nearly 24 children. This, according to Attorney General Ken Paxton, who is now suing that doctor. Paxton's office found evidence that the Dallas area doctor illegally gave high-dose cross-sex hormones to 21 minor patients for the direct purpose of transitioning the child's biological sex. The doctor allegedly used false diagnoses and billing codes to mask the prescriptions. Senate Bill 14 took effect in 2023. It bans gender transition medical interventions such as surgeries, puberty blockers, and cross-sex hormones for minors after scientific evidence suggested that they can have damaging long-term consequences. Any doctor found to violate the law will lose their medical license or other authorization to practice medicine. Paxton saying Texas passed the law to protect children from the dangerous, unscientific medical interventions that have irreversible and damaging effects. Former ESPN host Sage Steele making some impactful statements while on a media tour following Kamala Harris's interview with Bret Baier. Steele saying that Harris isn't giving voters any reason to support her because she doesn't have any answers and refuses to be accountable for anything, which she said is a huge mistake. Steele also saying that black voters she's talked to were insulted after Barack Obama scolded black men for not supporting Harris.
In Dallas, Christina Ohio, Salem News Channel.
back to the Jeff and Bill Show. Joining us live in studio, good friend of the program, Rich Sokol, activist in Republican circles for years, but spent time in Israel as a young man, has had family members there, is tapped into everything that's happening there. So a great resource on the discussion of the future of Israel, particularly as it relates to Iran. Yesterday, the death of Sinwar. He was the military leader of Hamas. Big moment. I saw lots of celebrations in the streets yesterday. It seemed like Israel ecstatic over getting him off the face of the earth and the terror he has brought upon the Israeli people. So let's talk Iran, because we know that Hezbollah and Hamas, they don't have any money themselves other than what we give them here in America, but a lot of it comes from Iran. That's the big elephant in the room that's got to be addressed here. So the other day, Iran sent, I think, 200 ballistic missiles towards Israel, most of them taken out. Mm-hmm. But Israel's going to have to respond to Iran itself. What are your thoughts, Rich Sokol?
Yeah, thanks, Jeff. So I say you use the elephant in the room. I use the animal, an octopus, because Israel is fighting a war on 7 fronts, which is incredibly hard to believe that Israel, a tiny country, 7 million Jews, is fighting 7 simultaneous wars, or basically the same war against Islamists on 7 different fronts. So all of these guys are funded by Iran. And most of the money Iran has obviously comes from their oil exports. And, I'll point out in the last several years, the Biden administration has lowered enforcing the sanctions against Iran. So Iran's oil exports have gone up dramatically. So Iran is now generating billions and billions of dollars from oil sales that they weren't before, that now goes to fund Hezbollah and Hamas and all the other Islamic jihadist groups. So I say Iran is the octopus, is the head of the octopus with its tentacles in all these different countries throughout the Middle East. So if we're ever going to solve the war between the Muslims and the non-Muslims in the Middle East and in the world, we have to take out the head of the octopus. The head of the octopus is Iran. And as you pointed out, Iran has now twice, not once, but twice sent missiles into Israel. They did it in April when they sent 300 missiles into Israel, and thank God not a single Jewish person was hurt. And they just did it again on October 1st when, as you said, they sent 181 ballistic missiles. Ballistic missiles are the huge missiles with huge warheads, can cause immense damage. Almost all were shot down. Some did get through, and some hit military bases in Israel, just a handful. There was no significant damage. And again, thank God not a single Jewish person was hurt. But when Iran attacked the first time in April, Israel's counterattack was very muted, relatively, and Israel took out one of the radar defense systems of Iran near one of their nuclear facilities, just to show, hey, Iran, we want to show you what we can do. So if you really want to go to war with us, just beware. We have overwhelming military power, much greater than yours. And we just proved it by taking out one of your radar installations, protecting one of your nuclear sites. Apparently, Iran didn't get the lesson or didn't care, because on October 1st, they sent 181 ballistic missiles into Israel. Now, Israel has been coordinating with the U.S. what its response is going to be. Their press in Israel is filled with rumors about what Israel is going to target in Iran. But I believe imminently Israel will attack Iran in retaliation for Iran's attack on Israel. So things are going to heat up in the Middle East.
Do you think the message is getting through? Hamas is decimated. Hezbollah is on their heels. Israel is striking directly into Iran. Do you think they're rethinking anything, or do you think it's causing them to want to double down and fight back harder?
So unfortunately, in the Arab world, honor is everything, and logic may not play as big a role as you think in the decision-making process. Obviously, Iran has not gotten the message. So are they quaking in their boots? Yes. Is Sinwar now watching from his room in hell as what's going on? And does everyone know that? Yes. With that said, though, many of these people exist and believe that their mission in life is to kill as many Jews as they can. And as you said earlier, spread Islam everywhere. So some of these people they don't value life, either of their fellow citizens or their own. So I believe that they will continue until there's a big change in the culture. They will continue fighting and trying to eradicate not just the Jews, but every non-Muslim in that area that they can, and then eventually come to the United States if they can and if we let them.
Let's talk about that culture, because there's splits between Sunni and Shiite Muslims.
Mm-hmm.
And the missiles, for instance, in Iran have to go over Saudi Arabia. Are they unified in their opposition to Israel, or have the Abraham Accords broken through on that?
So there has been a change in both the missile attacks from Iran. They did cross Jordan airspace, and the country of Jordan actually participated in shooting down some of the missiles. So we're very thankful for Jordan's participation in that. And by the way, it's not because Jordan has any great love for Israel. It's just that they hate Iran more than they dislike the Israelis.
Do they? So in that split between Shiite and Sunnis, they actually hate each other more than they hate the Jews?
Yeah, lots of hate going around the Middle East.
Sounds clearly. Like it.
But right.
Thank you,
So
Mohammed.
your listeners remember, so Iran is the leader of the Shiite world. And Shiites are basically found in Iran and Lebanon and in Syria. Most of the rest of the Arab or the Muslim world is Sunni. And the Sunni world is led by Saudi Arabia. And Saudi Arabia is the custodian of the holy sites of Mecca and Medina, where Muhammad lived. So there is a huge schism in the Muslim world between the Shiites and the Sunnis. They generally hate each other. They're vying for supremacy in the Islamic world. The only thing that unites them is their overriding hatred for Jews. So, they have that in common. Now, with that said, we see in the Sunni world with the Abraham Accords, there are some new leadership, especially the leader, the de facto leader in Saudi Arabia, MBS, he goes by his initials. They are starting to care more about the welfare of their people than they do about hatred of the Jews. And they also worry more about Iran getting a nuclear weapon than they care about their hatred of the Jews. And most people in the Middle East now know that you can't rely on the United States to stop Iran, because the United States response to Iran trying to get a nuclear weapon has been rather feckless.
Yeah, it's led by John Kerry. Good gracious.
Right.
Yeah.
So all the Sunni Arab states are saying, hell, we're more worried about Iran attacking us than we are about the Jews. And so we started to see alliances between the Sunni states and the Jewish state. As you mentioned, the Abraham Accords, which was a huge breakthrough. And in fact, Saudi Arabia was on the verge of entering the Abraham Accords and signing a peace treaty with Israel and entering a military alliance with Israel when Hamas committed the October 7th massacre. And one of the reasons Hamas did it then was they wanted to make sure to put an end to the negotiations between Israel and Saudi Arabia. So wars are very good at ending negotiations. But whatever Saudi Arabia thought about the need for an alliance with Israel on October 6th, you can now multiply that by 50, because Israel has proven that they are the badass in the Middle East. They have incredible military prowess. They have incredible intelligence prowess, as we saw with the walkie-talkies and the pagers. So now in the Middle East, strength is everything. We in America have these quaint ideas of what's right and what's wrong. In the Middle East, it's not right or wrong. It's who's strong and who's weak. And Israel is now seen as the strong power. So after this war is over, I think many of the Sunni Arab countries are going to be lining up to enter alliances with Israel.
And that's good news. Wow. Well said, Rich Sokol, Israeli activist here in Colorado. We're going to continue this conversation. Look, if you're like me, you know that living in Colorado means dealing with unpredictable weather, hail, snow, heavy winds, you name it, we've got it. That's why you need a roofing company you can trust, and that's Colorado's Best Roofing. They're local, family-owned, and have served the Denver area for over 12 years. They understand our unique climate and know how to build a roof that lasts. Whether you need a repair after a storm or a whole new roof, Colorado's Best Roofing has got you covered. And here's what I really love. They offer a free, no obligation inspection. They'll come out, take a look, and give you an honest assessment. No pressure, no gimmicks, just straight talk from the pros. Plus, they work with your insurance company to make sure you get the coverage you deserve. So don't wait until the next big storm hits. By the way, it's coming starting tonight. Give Colorado's Best Roofing a call today. I lived in a roof one time, Billy, where the it would leak when it rained, and it was just gotcha. Get it fixed. Give them a call, 303-797-7663, 303-797-7663, or visit roofingcolorado.com, roofingcolorado.com. Trust the best. Colorado's best roofing. We'll continue our conversation with the great Rich Sokol. You're listening to the Jeff and Bill Show.
Denver's talk leader, News Talk 710, KNUS.
Welcome back to the Jeff and Bill Show. Joining us live in studios, Rich Sokol, great friend of the program. He's an Israeli activist here in Colorado, businessman, been active in Republican and conservative circles for a long time. A lot of great text messages here. 7061 texting in, Israel teaching the world how to win a war. Amen to that.
Mm-hmm.
The Iron Dome is a protection, great protection device. Israel is about self-defense and freedom. Leave her alone, says Eric Manning. Let's talk about anti-Semitism in America. It was just about a year ago now that you had all the explosion on college campuses, at Columbia, taking over the buildings, even here in the Aurora campus. An anti-Semitism that this country hasn't seen since World War II. It was wild.
Right.
And even then, I don't know if it was that bad as what we've dealt with the last year. Are things getting better on college campuses?
So I'd say, yes, things are getting better on college campuses. Are they great? Clearly, the answer is no, but it is significantly better than it was last year. I'm hoping that the woke crowd has decided to move on to their next issue of the day. With that said, what was truly disgusting, Jeff and Bill, that just tore my heart out and tore my brain out because I couldn't believe it, is on October 7th, just a week and a half ago, there were protests, pro-Palestinian protests on college campuses on the anniversary of the massacre, the rape, the pillage, the killing, the burning of Jews. These people wanted to protest on the day of mourning for us. It was beyond crazy. It was like if here in America we had protests, pro-Muslim protests on September 11th. No one in their right mind would think that was the right thing to do.
That's right.
For people to, show their love for Osama bin Laden on September 11th. But that's what we saw here.
Rich, we've got about a minute here. You and I helped put together CCU for Israel about a year ago, this upcoming December, a coming together of Christians and Jews. What can Christians do to support their Jewish friends in this moment?
Okay, I'd say there's three things you can do. First, reach out to your Jewish friends. Just tell them that you're thinking about them, that you care about them. That means so much because we as Jews feel so isolated in the community. Israel has obviously been condemned by just about every country on the planet for standing up for good and standing up for right. We Jews look at this and we're just so bewildered and we think, has the world gone mad? So if you could reach out to your Jewish friends and show support, that would be wonderful. Second thing you can do, call your congressman. We need to support Israel. There's a segment in mostly the Democrat Party that has turned anti-Israel, the Squad and others, that want to cut off aid to Israel. And in fact, the Biden administration just 2 days ago threatened to cut off aid to Israel, military aid in the midst of the war against evil. So please reach out to your congressman, say, we stand with Israel. Please support Israel in its fight, not just for its survival, but for all our survival. Third is pray.
Pray.
Pray always helps.
Absolutely. Rich Sokol, thanks so much for being on the program. Big day for our Jewish friends as Sinwar is no more on this earth. We'll continue. You're listening to the Jeff and Bill Show.
Denver's talk leader, News Talk 710, KNUS.
Mile High City. Good morning, Denver, Colorado. You've tuned into the Jeff and Bill Show, News Talk 710 KNUS. I'm your co-host, Jeff Hunt, along with Bill Thorpe, bringing you the freshest insights and hottest takes from the right, left, and center. Congratulations, you're waking up in the greatest country in history, and we're gearing up for a whole nother hour of engaging discussions, critical analysis, but most importantly, your phone calls and texts, because this is where Denver's voice is heard loud and clear. So grab a cup of coffee, Denver. Let's dive into the issues that matter most to you right here, right now. Coming up after the news with Blake Olson, we're going to get into Proposition 131, which is the effort to bring in ranked choice voting into Colorado. Is it helpful? Could it make things different? I don't think so. And conservative movement, this is one of those unique things where the conservatives have kind of united with the progressives and going, this is such a catastrophe for our elections, that both the Heritage Foundation, for instance, has come out against ranked choice voting, along with Michael Bennett and others like that. So what ultimately happens when you engage in ranked choice voting? We're going to get to that coming up. But first, news and comment with Blake Olson. Good morning, Blake.
Partly cloudy in Denver, expecting a high of 58 today, and here comes the cold weather for the first time in a long time. The 710 5-day forecast coming up. Our top story.
Yesterday was a very joyous day in the Jewish community, and it shouldn't just be joyous for the Jewish community. Right. It should be for everyone in the world. The face of evil literally left the world yesterday. Yahya Sinwar was the head of Hamas. He was the military mastermind behind the October 7th massacre in Israel.
Rich Sokol, Israeli activist, in the studio with Jeff and Bill last hour, and Israeli forces have killed the leader of Hamas. Officials say Yahya Sinwar died Wednesday during heavy fighting in Gaza. A spokesperson for Prime Minister Netanyahu cautioned, however, that Sinwar's death does not mean the end of the war. He said that won't happen until all the hostages held by Hamas are freed. Sokol reminded us this morning that Sinwar was in an Israeli prison for 23 years on a life sentence, but was let go.
In 2011, two Hamas guys crossed the border and killed two Israeli soldiers and kidnapped an Israeli soldier and took that Israeli soldier back to Gaza. That Israeli soldier's name, if your listeners remember, was Gilad Shalit. And in a prisoner exchange okayed by Netanyahu, Israel released over 1,000 prisoners, terrorists in its jails, to get back the one Israeli soldier. And among those 1,000, it was almost 1,100, among those 1,000 plus prisoners was Yahya Sinwar.
Fascinating hour. Last hour with Jeff and Bill. Colorado is warning drivers about this weekend's snowstorm. Anyone planning a trip to the southern mountains may want to reconsider. Weather experts say roads, bridges, and overpasses will be likely slippery, mostly in the southern mountains, making travel difficult to impossible. The most dangerous spot could be along Highway 160, once again over Wolf Creek Pass. Up to 2 feet of snow is forecast for elevations above 9,000 feet. Kamala Khan is the first presidential candidate since 1984, Walter Mondale, to skip a major charity event in New York City. DJT was at last night's Alfred Smith dinner, an event where politicians make jokes about each other to raise money for Catholic charities, of course. Here are a few of the jokes.
I'm supposed to tell a few self-deprecating jokes this evening. So here it goes. Nope, I've got nothing.
Trump was at the table with Chuck Schumer. They had a cordial conversation, and then he read the joke.
Coming in very, very strong a certain way. I won't tell you what way that is, but Chuck Schumer is here looking very glum. Doesn't he look glum? He looks glum. But look on the bright side, Chuck, considering how woke your party has become. If Kamala loses, you still have a chance to become the first woman president.
I love that one.
Blake, I'm getting like Reagan vibes listening into that, right?
Yeah,
like
no doubt.
and
that's difficult reading other comedians' jokes, the writing, the delivery. But he did well on like 4 or 5 of them.
We're 18 days out.
Uh-huh.
You get this sense of optimism. He's getting this kind of cheery attitude. He's having fun while he's up there. People are like, well, he danced for 40 minutes. Well, there were medical issues, but he's
ridiculous.
He's dancing on stage. People loved it here in Aurora when he did that. He's making fun jokes. Kamala Harris is coming across angry. That Fox News interview was a disaster for her. She doesn't even show up last night. She plays a video of her with the Molly person from Saturday Night Live smelling her armpits or whatever.
See, I think that last night would have helped Kamala.
Yeah.
I really do. Yeah, all
like,
she would have
who do I want to deal with for the next 4 years? Someone who's just like angry, doesn't show up, doesn't take jokes, is a disaster in the media, or somebody that like has fun, kind of like Reagan did with his final term.
I agree. No, I agree with it. Isn't it fascinating? 2016, we remember how they just ripped Trump, and now I'm driving around and I've literally seen 3 or 4 cars with people who aren't white driving around with Trump stickers on the back of their cars. I mean, it's so encouraging.
Do you remember conservative mama yesterday going, the only people I see with Harris stickers are 50-year-old white women?
Yes, with purple hair.
Right. That's the only people driving around with a.
You ever
Kamala
notice
Harris
their cars are a mess?
Yes.
I mean, they're just trashed. It's like what is going on? Now I've seen plenty of Trump stickers on some trucks and stuff. Like, wow, man, they got a lot going on. But I have seen some cars, man, stuff hanging off the ceilings. There's probably 30 bags of food in the back.
They're driving with a donut spare tire.
I love it, man. Hey, we can write these jokes. I like this one too. This is a good one.
There's a group called White Dudes for Harris. Have you seen this? White Dudes for Harris. Anybody know? Are some of you here? White Dudes for Harris? Doesn't sound like it. But I'm not worried about them at all because their wives and their wives' lovers are all voting for me.
That was awesome. No, he pulled it off, man. He did. And when you use it in clips like this, which is what campaigns are all about, it's really well done. But yeah, I mean, it is amazing. He is fighting all this crap off, and he is becoming more likable. From more people. So, But I don't want to get overconfident. We got to go out there and vote right now.
I mean, look,
vote right now.
You cannot underestimate what the radical left, who is coordinated and controls every aspect of our federal government, is going to try to do to stop this guy.
Yes.
They're not going to go quietly into the night.
No, the machine, man. And actually, I'm going to play the best commercial I've heard in a long time. I'll try to play it next hour. It's phenomenal. Discussing just what you talked about. Hey, jails and detention centers across Colorado are preparing to set up voting centers. State Representative Manny Retinell is a House Speaker or House sponsor of a new law that will let those behind bars make their voices heard statewide this year.
They vote at really similar rates as other Coloradans when they're outside of jail. But when they're in jail, they're only voting at a small fraction of the rates that they otherwise would be.
Now, this only applies to people serving time for misdemeanors. In Adams County, for example, the detention centers started mail-in voting in 2018, but will now turn their library into a place to cast ballots. Officials say they'll do this for 2 days due to high demand. Several more Walgreens stores are set to close in Denver. The company plans to close a total of 1,200 stores nationwide. The store at the corner of Colfax and Sheridan will close on November 12th, followed by a store on the corner of Colfax and Havana in Aurora the next day, and a Walgreens on South Federal Boulevard in Denver's Westwood neighborhood will close on November 14th.
Gives it to Williams, and he burrows his way in for the touchdown. So the Denver Broncos, 69 yards, 5 plays, 4 of them on the ground.
Javonte Williams, 14 carries, 88 yards, 2 touchdowns, and the Broncos over the Saints, 33-10 last night. ALCS Game 3, Yankees and the Guardian Indians. Bottom of the ninth, down 2 runs.
No time like the present. Swung out and hammered, high, deep to left, away, out of here!
The ultimate present under the tree. Oh my goodness. John Kinsey Noel. The biggest swing of his life.
They had a Santa Claus fan looking on, and then he says, no time like the present. And then the crack of the bat, man, that was awesome. So in the 10th, it is tied.
Winning run at third, 2 down for David Fry. He's walked and struck out. Anyway at all here. Swung on, hit high, hit deep to left. There she goes.
A walk-off home run. David Fry lights up the Cleveland Knight.
The Guardian Indians will try to tie it up at 2 games apiece today. I like that. Just made that up 10 seconds ago. Guardian Indians. I think that's what I'm going to call them from now on. 45 in Centennial, 46 in Brighton, 47 in Denver. Jeff and Bill continue. TGIF, Blake Olson, News Talk 710, KNUS.
The weather finally changing now here along the Front Range. Temperatures today will be cooler, making the mid to upper 50s, but it's actually going to turn colder as the day wears on, as the front comes in. So falling to the 40s, there will be a chance of showers developing. Showers, maybe a thunderstorm this evening, upper 30s for lows. Cloudy, cool, a few showers, 50s Saturday. A few showers, 50s and 60s Sunday and Sunday night. Weather sponsored by branchplanning.com. Secure your future retirement with a reliable income stream. Annuities can provide guaranteed payments, giving you peace of mind. Get your complimentary review at branchplanning.com or call 303-219-0088. Meteorologist Don Day in the 710 KNUS Weather Center.
Welcome back to the Jeff and Bill Show. Proposition 131. You get your little blue book here, holding it up on the videos. Establishing all candidate primary and ranked choice voting general elections. Creates an all candidate primary election for certain state and federal offices where the top 4 candidates advance to the general election. Kind of like you don't have a Republican primary leader. You don't have a Democrat primary leader. It allows voters to rank those candidates in the general election with votes counted over multiple rounds to determine who wins the election. A yes vote on Proposition 131 establishes an all-candidate primary for voters, regardless of their party affiliation for certain offices, and advances the top 4 candidates in a general election where voters rank the candidates in order of preference. Once certain conditions in state law are met, a no vote on Proposition 131 continues the existing primary election system and the current method of selecting candidates and counting votes at general elections. I am opposed to this, and joining us is Candace. She's a Republican Canvass board member for El Paso County. Has been in this fight against Proposition 131 for quite a while. Candace, do we have you?
Well, this is going well.
Candace, can you hear us?
Okay, I'm going to have to go talk to her again.
Yeah, go back and talk with her. We've been having some phone issues today, so one of the challenges we're facing here. All right, I'll tell you why I'm opposed to it, and we can see if we can get Candace back in here. Went to some analysis on this, and where ranked choice voting ends up being implemented becomes a disaster. So what you're going to do is you're going to get a ballot with lots of different people on it, and you have to vote like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 on who you think would be the best candidate. And then the clerk has to take them and rank them and order them and then figure out who actually wins. And the belief is we can get away from the party structure where the most extreme person that wins the Republican primary and the most extreme person that wins the Democrat primary face off with each other. And so you just end up with extreme people all along. But the whole mechanism by which ranked choice voting is implemented ends up becoming a disaster. Where they have done this, oftentimes 10, 15% of ballots are tossed out simply because people don't understand what they're doing and how to rank people. And I don't blame them. Our entire country has been choose one and choose one only. And then all of a sudden we're like, now, after 250 years, we would like you to rank the candidates. Yeah, some people are going to get that a little confused, and it's going to be difficult to implement there. So that was one reason. 10 to 15% of ballots end up getting tossed because of it. Secondly, you get out of the party infrastructures, which I actually think are pretty good, right? People work through a primary system. They appeal to a certain base of voters to try to win the primaries. And you guys know this. There's always people that show up in these primaries that have never run a race, kind of throw their name on there, and they're not fit for office. And the primary system becomes a way in which you can weed those out. They almost run, it's almost like a playoff system, right? Yeah. They have to play a game ahead of time in order to get to the main event, which is a general election.
I just need to interrupt for a sec, just because just on a Friday, I wasn't here yesterday. And again, there's a phrase about, something rain, something pouring, where everything goes really, really bad all at once. That's what we're having here. Yeah. In fact, Candace, her machine has frozen literally 60 seconds before we're getting on the air. Her link drops and her computer has frozen on her end. So we're going to try to bring her back. If not, she may join us next week, but we can continue this conversation. We can go in a different direction if you want, my friend.
We can get some text messages going here as well. Breadman, ranked choice voting. The problem may be the two-party system and campaign finances, and Tulsi's comments. I'm not sure what that's about, Breadman. You may have to detail us on that. But the primary system will typically weed out some of the weaker candidates so that what you get at the general election level are candidates that are better prepared to actually run a general election. Now, Breadman, to his point, pointing out Dan Mays, yes, I'm not saying it works out perfectly in every situation, but in most situations, it actually weeds out the weaker candidates so that the parties come with their strongest candidates to a general election. But in this case, you're going to get a whole lot of people on a ballot, many of whom you're not going to know, and you're going to rank them. The belief being, if we do that, we're going to get more moderate candidates. I think the other concern I have with this is that where it's been implemented in places like California, you're not getting the most moderate candidates. That may be shocking to you. You're just getting elections between Democrats because when it's ranked choice voting, you're just choosing between, horribly progressive or slightly less progressive because you're into a jungle primaries that are already taking place there. So to move our elections for governor, Congress, state house, state senate to this type of ranked primary choice voting, my concern is it's just going to make Colorado bluer. People are going to be defranchised in their ability to vote. And I talked to a county clerk who told me, you think it's hard now to review elections and check ballots and see if people win? It will be nearly impossible to go back and reevaluate votes and check their legitimacy if it comes to ranked choice voting, because it's so complicated. One example that was pointed out is in, I believe it was Orange County, California. They tried this and they went back and did a recall, revote, look at the votes themselves, and found that they had put the wrong person in office for 3 months before they were able to clean it up. I am a hard no on ranked choice voting. The arguments that this will somehow make Colorado more moderate have not been made. So I'm against 131. We'll see if we can continue to work to get Candace here. but it seems to be system-wide with some of our technical difficulties. Hey, speaking of a great guy who I think should run for statewide office, Dan Caplis and Dan Caplis Law. I've known Dan for well over a decade. Dan is pro-life, pro-America, pro-family. This guy gets it. That matters because who you choose to represent you in an injury case says a lot about you to everyone involved in the case. It communicates a message in that courtroom. Get somebody with solid values who believes in right and wrong. Dan Caplis is the son of a police officer. He's a former seminarian who's dedicated the last 40 years of his life to helping people who are hurt in serious motor vehicle crashes. Dan is believed to be not just great with values, but the only lawyer in Colorado history to win 5 straight multi-million-dollar verdicts in Colorado crash cases. He's a real winner. Dan is also believed to have won the largest truck crash verdict in Colorado history. Dan Caplis Law is the official law firm partner of the Denver Nuggets and the Colorado Avalanche, a serious lawyer at a serious firm for serious cases. And you might be thinking to yourself, I can't afford this guy, but Dan accepts righteous injury cases on a percentage fee basis so that he can represent good people from all walks of life without regard to ability to pay. If you need Dan's help, give him a call at 303-770-5551. 303-770-5551 or hit dancaplisLaw.com. That's Dan, CAPLIS law.com. Check him out. Even if you don't, not an accident right now, why don't you put his number in your phone just so that you have it? 303-770-5551. All right, we'll continue with the Jeff and Bill Show.
Denver's talk leader, News Talk 710, KNUS.
At this hour, I'm Christina Ohio in Dallas, and here are your top stories.
157 people have been arrested as part of a human trafficking operation in Florida. According to the Polk County Sheriff's Office, 25 of those people are illegal migrants. Sheriff Grady Judd talked about Operation Autumn Sweep and the information he learned from illegal migrants about how they were welcomed into the country, given free medical, SNAP benefits, free housing, and free travel.
% of these total arrests were people who should not even have been in this country, but they were here. And they were here because we have a federal government that enabled these criminals to come into the country and then treated them very well after the criminals came here illegally.
Some of the illegal migrant women said they were working to pay off a coyote debt
of $6,000. Make no mistake about it, the government is complicit and is aiding and abetting human trafficking. When are we going to say the hardworking people in the United States are who we need to be taking care of?
DHS has announced that it will give temporary protected status to any Lebanese nationals who are already in the United States. The protected status will last for 18 months and will allow the migrants to work. DHS will also allow Lebanese students in the U.S. on F-1 visas to apply for jobs and work longer hours.
That's what you need to know at this hour. In Dallas, Christina Ohio, Salem News Channel.
Welcome back to the Jeff and Bill Show. We're talking Proposition 131. Our guest and us are having technical difficulties right now. Phones aren't going through on our end, so
it's a Monday on a Friday.
Yes, exactly. You can text us. So we have Jeff Hildebrandt at 9 o'clock. I'm like, let's just read some cowboy poetry. We'll go home.
That's what we need to do.
You can
After that, we'll do charades. Yeah.
Oh gosh,
man.
Bill, I'd like to see you do.
Yeah, it's a lot. I'm a little weird. And again, give us a text. Dan Capitalist Law text line. Don't have the number in front of me. Jeff may be able to help me out in a sec. That's the only way you can communicate with us reliably this morning, because I can't put the phone calls on the air. And if I do actually answer a phone call, here's a fun fact: it disconnects you about 2 minutes later, just on its own, randomly, just because. So yeah. Been a lot of fun today. I'm wearing a big happy hat. This is great.
So I want to talk about Dick Wadham's piece in the Gazette, because he writes about Proposition 131, and this just sounds terrible. By the way, full disclosure, he's a paid consultant for Prop 131. Yeah. Dick was also a paid consultant for getting rid of Gallagher. So, keep that in mind when you have to write your property taxes. The only sure way, he writes, to prevent the disenfranchisement of every Republican voter, this is so weird to me. The only sure way to prevent the disenfranchisement of every Republican voter is to pass Proposition 131, which would create an open primary where every candidate, regardless of party, runs, and every voter, regardless of affiliation, can vote for any candidate in every election for every office. He's concerned that there's a group of Republicans that want to take away open primaries, and as a result, the only way to choose your Republican candidate is to go through the caucus process, which the caucus process is a little weird in itself. I'm not a huge fan of that, but I get it. It's like the most engaged choose the best candidate. That's the thinking there. I think registered Republicans should vote for Republicans. I don't get this idea that Dick Wadhams has that somehow if we get rid of the idea that independents can vote for Republicans, Republicans aren't going to be able to choose their candidate. That doesn't make sense to me. I don't like the idea that independents can choose Republican primary candidates. That shouldn't happen.
I think that's interesting, because that for me, I don't necessarily see the harm. Again, I can understand the argument that we are this club, and only our club members should be allowed to choose who the captain is.
We do the analysis. We know what's the most important. We get to choose. Yep.
Yeah, and the only thing I have against that is things like the caucus problem. I don't think that always the best candidate emerges from the caucus process. I don't think that always is a truism. It does sometimes, but not always. You don't always end up with the candidate that might be the most likely to win given the larger portion of the vote. And for me, I understand and acknowledge why either Democrats or Republicans would want to have a closed primary. But for me, you're going to have to win over those voters anyway that could cross over.
Right.
So saying
that's a valid argument.
Yeah. And I understand the idea if they can come over here and they can wait things and stuff. I've never seen
it hasn't happened that much.
That's the part. And so what I hear is I hear people being afraid of something that has not happened nor has been a problem. I feel like it's an inventing of a problem that doesn't occur yet. That
but
if this was. Yeah, I know it could, but there are lots of things that could happen that we don't take necessarily preventative measures against. Remember this, probably, I don't know if it's going to be in your life or not, the idea of mandatory seatbelt use. That you could get massively hurt inside of a crash in an accident. And then eventually we looked at some of the safety standards and figured, we got to do the seatbelt thing because people are getting hurt all this time. It wasn't that we do the seatbelts because we think you might get hurt. We had the evidence prior to the law. And that's what I'd like to see is the evidence prior. But however, it's your club. So if you want to decide it's only your club voting, fine, I will support it. I'm not going to make a big deal about it. I think it's detrimental, but I'm not going to make an issue about it.
This is a weird, so under Prop 131, there would no longer be separate Republican Democrat primary elections. The top four candidates in the open primary would go on to the general election. So you could get a list of 30 candidates, including, Fred, who lives in the tent down under the overpass at 225.
Maybe my favorite candidate recently for London mayor, Captain Binface. That's who I want. I'm voting for Captain Binface.
You're gonna get
yes.
You're gonna get a huge list, and then
Yeah.
out of that, which you have to rank.
Yeah.
This is an important thing to remember. You got to sit there and write the number 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, all the way down to 45.
Yeah.
And then the county clerk has to figure out how you ranked it.
Yeah.
And then they're going to produce the top 4 to run in a general election. And we're doing all of this because wow, what?
I know. And I got a phone line ringing right now. You got to text us on the Dan Kaplan Law text line. I got to text us. The phone lines aren't working today. Super apologies for that. The thing that I have with the ranked choice voting, I don't necessarily disagree with it in theory. Where I have an issue is after the first round. Once you go through and you say, okay, here are the people that have received this many votes, then you start looking at people's second, third, and fourth choices. Yeah, the issue that I've got then is I can't tell you that if you had constrained the group of candidates, if you had thrown those other people out, are these people still my second, third, and fourth choices? That may change. And what I would say is the idea of this may have happened in elementary school, where you have favorite candies, favorite TV shows, or even favorite people in class presidents. And you raise your hand. There weren't any parties when you're voting for class president. If you're just raising your hand inside the class, if you're raising your hand, if one person is eliminated, if you have 4 candidates that are up there and they say only after the first 2, this is who are first 3, your choice might change. If your person is eliminated, you might choose someone else that may have been your second choice at first, but you're like, oh, I think I'm better choice on this one, or based on the grouping, you may decide based on the grouping. And the other thing is this, the self-cannibalization. And I want to bring this back to what we've seen in Alaska.
Yeah.
The cannibalization of internal party candidates. And what I mean by that is during the primary, the Democrats go at Democrats hard, Republicans go at Republicans hard. And sometimes there are enough hurt feelings left over that just to prove a point. And before you argue with me, our listeners, that people aren't going to vote just to prove a point, I think we've seen that as far as people that say that certain candidates aren't conservative enough. If we get more true, pure conservatives, they would be elected, or more true, pure liberals, they would be acceptable. So when you have that, there's some hurt feelings left inside the party. So what they've seen in Alaska, and this is for me the biggest question, what they've seen in Alaska is in those contentious primaries, the Republican, out of spite, will not place their second Republican as their second choice. So they have a favorite Republican, but that Republican or 2 Republicans that's running against their favorite candidate is going to get ranked 4th, 5th, 6th, or 7th. Ending up with a larger share of vote for Democrats. And it's happened on the Democrat side as well. But in Alaska, more on the Republican side statistically. They went back and they looked at some of the voting, and they found that statistically, more often than not, the Republicans had hurt feelings and would purposefully make lower ranked choices for the opponent of the person they're supporting, thinking, I'm going to give this person and I'm going to teach them a lesson. And what you end up with are 4 Democrats running for an office.
So listen to how convoluted this is.
Yeah.
And I want to thank Joy for texting me. We don't rank until it's the top 4. So, okay. All right. So I don't even understand it, which Suzanne goes, if people can't figure out ranked choice voting, they shouldn't be voting in the first place. Thank you, Suzanne, for your commitment to democracy.
Again, Suzanne, I'm just going to remind Suzanne of the greatest quote in the world from Bobby the Brain Heenan, one of the all-time best wrestling managers. He said, and I am a wrestling fan. So the scariest thing about wrestling fans is they vote. That's it. That is a truism in the world.
7586 writes, we must stop city people from voting, and independents don't deserve to vote. So we've got a lot of people who don't like anybody else voting, but people like
independents and unaffiliated, that would mean me. I want the texter to justify why my voice should not be counted in any sort of a primary, or even if you say not vote, even in any sort of election. Why should an unaffiliated have a voice that doesn't count? Why do you have to put on a jersey in order to make your views count? But
here's what the Blue Book says, how it works. Goodness gracious. After the top 4 candidates advance from the all-candidate primary election, so everybody votes in everybody's election. I don't think it's right for me to vote in a Democrat primary election. I think that's not fair. But anyways, after the top 4 candidates advance from the all-candidate primary election, And Dick Wadhams is afraid this is going to get rid of the Republican primary. Give me a break. The general election determines the winner. Voters can rank some or all of the candidates for each office in order of preference. The winner is determined by counting the ranked votes using a method called instant runoff voting. If one candidate gets more than half of the first place votes, they win the election. If no candidate wins more than half of the first place votes, the candidate with the fewest first place votes is eliminated, and an additional round of counting is conducted.
Yeah. So what happens is
God
the top four.
almighty.
Yeah. So let's say we have 4 people that are running. The person that ends up third place in the number of won votes, not just third place in voting, because that no longer matters. Number of votes no longer matters. It has to do with choice 1, 2, 3, or 4. So the person that has the fewest number ones behind their name gets eliminated. Now you know what they do? They go back and they do the math again. So the person that may have gotten may have had the third amount of like number ones could actually leapfrog based on elimination. There could be some shuffling as far as what's going to happen. And again,
how many twos, threes, fours versus the ones? Oh my God. I laugh because it's so convoluted and stupid.
It is. And the thing that I come back to is after eliminating that fourth person, and we're down to 3, are you certain that of that 3, your rankings would remain the same? I am not convinced of that. And that for me is that's the issue. If you give me a whole nother ballot and let me choose again, okay, now I can get forward with ranked choice voting because for each round I'm allowed to, but you're having me pre-vote on my choice for each round. No, I'm not going to do that.
And these are the people that are like, hand counting's terrible.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't know how you count it without hand
I
counting.
don't know how you do it either.
Votes for the eliminated candidate are then counted. Listen to this.
Yeah.
Votes for the eliminated candidate, so the candidate is gone, are then counted for the next highest ranked candidate on
dumb.
each ballot. What?
That's kind of,
So
now the other person's
for
go
the
up,
eliminated candidate. So I voted 1 for Jane. Jane loses. My vote for Jane are then counted for the next highest ranked candidate?
What I'm wondering is this is what I'm wondering. I don't think it would be the first choice, but what would happen is, let's say that you have Jane as your number 1 candidate. They would go back to everybody with the ones, and what would happen is they would then count their 2s, 3s, and 4s. They would then be included in the next round. Is I think how it works. I think if again, I think I may be misinterpreting what they're trying to do, but again,
I can't.
Yeah, exactly. Here's the thing.
I have a master's in political management, and I can't figure this out. And we think that Ted, who lives down in the apartment complex, is going to figure this thing out.
And the idea is, how much effort does it take to understand what's happening in order to actually cast your ballot correctly? So what's going to happen, in my opinion, is you're going to have 5 to 8 years of some really big confusion about what's going to happen. Some people will adopt it and figure it out a lot quicker than other people. And God forbid we talk about people that are leaving the state or coming into the state. Imagine trying to figure this out when you move into the state. It's ridiculous.
All right. This is all the blue book. I'm not reading. This is the blue book.
I know, I
if
love
voters do not rank all the candidates, or they select the same ranking for multiple candidates, so 1, 1, 1, 1, 1.
Yeah.
Their ballots may not factor into the next round of counting. Such ballots are excluded from counting once all their ranked candidates have been eliminated, and it is not possible to redistribute votes to another candidate.
Now, here's the thing. Now, this is the other part that I'm glad you hit on that one. I was hoping we would get to this because, again, I can be misinterpreting this. And again, if you have information that we are getting wrong, especially myself, give us a text on the Dan Caplis Law text line, Dan Caplis Law text line. Jeff will give that to you in a second because I'm not smart enough to have it in front of me. But this is what I'm worried about is, let's say that you do have 4 choices, and you only put down 2. For that final one. I don't even like the other 2. I'm not even going to rank them 1 and 2.
No, they're libs, progressives. Not going to vote for them.
Your first 2 candidates, for whatever reason, are now eliminated, and they're down to the final 2. But your number 1 choice and your number 2 choice have been eliminated.
You don't
didn't
have
pick
a
third or
choice
fourth.
then.
No, guess what? You don't even get to make a choice.
Right,
Because what the Blue Book is telling us is you no longer get the ability to vote.
Yep.
They are discounting your actual ability to vote. If you only chose 2 of the 4 and your 2 that you choose are gone and they're down to the final 2, you no longer have a voice. Even if you're looking at the 2 people that could be liberals going, that liberal scares me less than that liberal. Okay, if I had to on a dare, I will do that and hold my nose simply because I can't stand the idea of, let's look at the Democrat primary with Timmy Hamas does. So him and the person they're running against him. If Republicans, if you had to choose between Timmy Hamas and the Democrat candidate, you're probably going to look at it and go, this sucks, but I can't possibly vote for Timmy. So I'm going to have to choose the other one just because I can't stand him in the Colorado State Legislature. That would be an awful choice. However, if you only filled out 2 of the 4 possible choices, your vote doesn't even count then. They don't even care what you think. You don't even get to have a voice in the process or choice. That's part of why this just sucks. It just sucks.
Billy, you said it better than I can. By the way, something that doesn't stink.
Yeah, what would that be?
Is watching you walk with your knee brace, man. You are like got more energy and you're younger.
Dude, it's crazy.
And engaged than ever before.
Here's the thing. Guess who was dancing at Porter Robinson yet?
Yeah,
on Wednesday night.
Right.
And that's the thing is, and I appreciate that, Jeff, because it's all due to my friends at Balance Well Space. And I was at the Porter Robinson concert. I am standing there for, several times sitting there at the in the concert. And it's my left knee that I tore my meniscus about 9 years ago. And guess what knee feels fine? It's my right knee that is popping and cracking today after jumping up and down and being the crazy kid that I was. It's my left knee that is solid. My left knee that was helping me get up and down the stairs at Red Rocks. My left knee that was helping me hike from that parking lot. You know about that hike. It was my right knee that was giving me the problems, the one that used to be my good knee. Now, the reason my left knee is now my good knee, it's because of my friends at Balance Well Space. I want you to check them out. It's integrative medicine. It's a brand new term. I had no idea what it was. What it means to you is you get a whole bunch of treatments under one roof. Wave therapy, regenerative care, physical rehabilitation, neuropathic care, chiropractic care, and so much more. They have some cutting-edge modalities, some cutting-edge treatments that have to be seen to be believed. They're almost straight out of Star Trek, but here's the coolest thing. It's all non-invasive. No cuts, no surgeries, no stitching you up, nothing like that as far as recovery time. It's all about using your body and your body's ability to heal and these cutting-edge technologies to boost that, to make sure that you feel the best you possibly can. I know that, like you, I'm getting older and things start to hurt. Things start to ache and you start making different choices in your life. It's stuff that you didn't want to do. I stopped going to some of the concerts at Red Rocks because of the pain that I was getting in my back and my knee. I am bouncing around like a fool on Wednesday night. My back's not hurting at all. Never would have happened without my friends at Balance Well Space. The bottom 2 vertebrae in my back were fusing together. They've now created space between those vertebrae with traction, and we're regrowing part of the disc there thanks to regenerative therapy. I'm regenerating the meniscus in my left knee as we talk right now. They've killed all the scar tissue. Not killed. They've destroyed all the scar tissue in my right shoulder. So now my right shoulder doesn't move and pop and crack like it used to. It's absolutely incredible. I can't believe how much younger and how much more vibrant and how much more I am doing thanks to my experience at Balance Well Space. Talk to them, balancewellspace.com. They'll do an examination, put together a custom pain plan for you, and then go to work. And the best part about it is they come back every few weeks. They talk to you and they say, how's it going? And they reevaluate where you are. And they will change things based on your care. Your current medical team doesn't discuss you. They're not concerned. They're not on a Zoom call seeing how your progress in the treatment is. They get you in the office and they wait until the next time you come back. But they never talk to each other. That's the difference at Balance Well Space. All your medical team is there talking about you and making sure you are getting to the goals that you have set for yourself. They're focused on you and taking away that pain and making sure you live your life to the fullest. That's why they're different. New offices in Lowry, right across from Hangar 2, plenty of parking. balancewellspace.com. Talk to the team that can make a difference in your life today. balancewellspace.com. I want them to make the same difference in your life they're currently making in mine. balancewellspace.com. And when you talk to them, tell them you heard about it here on the Jeff and Bill Show because it helps us out. Appreciate it.
Great to hear. If you have thoughts on Proposition 131, give us a text message. Phones are getting a little weird today. 720-819-5115 is the Dan Caplitz Law text line. We'll get your text right here into the studio. Join the conversation. 720-819-5115. 819-5115. You're listening to The Jeff and Bill Show.
Denver's talk leader, News Talk 710, KNUS.
Welcome back to the Jeff and Bill Show. Billy and I just wrapping up a great discussion on Proposition 131. It's too confusing to me. Oh, my goodness. And the idea that somehow now elections will belong to the people, not the parties. If we take away the primary system, believe me, they'll find another way around, and it will likely just belong to the person that can be the most active in paying for ads, so the wealthiest.
I hadn't thought about that. That's a good point, my friend, that this does lean into the idea of money being more and more important because it is more about exposure rather than someone being dialed into a party. Right. It's going to be just based on name recognition. I hadn't even thought about that.
Because you can get on the ballot. You can win the primary by winning, you can get on the primary ballot by going through the caucus system, which sometimes it's just about working a phone and connecting with those people and then getting on that way. If the only way people can learn about you is because of the advertisements you run now. Yeah, I'm not a fan.
No, I'm not a huge fan.
If you are a fan of Proposition 131, feel free to give us a text message. I'd be happy to consider your arguments, but it's so confusing to me. It's so convoluted. I think a lot of people aren't going to be able to have their voices heard as a result of it.
And here's how weird it is on me is I'm a fan of the open primaries. I don't see the harm. So I don't see the issue of having people that are unaffiliated or even from another party coming over and playing in your primary. I don't see the issue there, but I dislike the idea of ranked choice voting. Yeah. I think it falls apart and in some of the ways that we've outlined. The idea that if you don't vote for all four at some point, because you just dislike the other two, at some point, you lose your actual voice. The other part being, after you eliminate some candidates, is your ranking still going to be the same? Your ranking may change. And if your favorite person, if your second place person gets eliminated, maybe you would like to reorder your choices.
Dude, and I talked to a county clerk and recorder who's like, you think it's hard to track ballots and confirm election integrity now? It'll be nearly impossible with ranked choice voting. It goes out the door. It's so complicated. No vote for Billy and I. We'll continue. Up next, Cowboy Poetry. You're listening to The Jeff and Bill Show.
Denver's talk leader, News Talk 710, KNUS.
It is 9 a.m. in the Mile High City on this Friday, October 18th, and Bill and I are very much ready to settle into some cowboy poetry.
Yes.
Because we were at one point, we had aluminum that we were sticking on wires outside the window here to see if we could get the phone lines to maybe work. And
yeah, it was stupid. We're using chewing gum and tape to try to make things work. And of course,
just shock it again. Maybe it'll work.
Yeah, exactly. My thing was just pour water on it. At least it'll solve the problem one way or another. Yeah, either it's not going to work or something's going to happen.
So we are ready to settle in on this Friday morning into what's become a tradition on the Jeff and Bill show, and that's cowboy poetry with our poet laureate, Jeff Hildebrandt. He's going to be coming up just in a second. But first, news and comment from Blake Olson. Good morning, Blake.
Hey, good morning. I'm sorry you guys have had a rough day at the studio. It sounded great, though, to the listeners. 49 and partly cloudy in Denver. Expecting a high of 58 today. The 7-10 5-day forecast is coming up. Our top story, Kamala Khan and DJT back on the campaign trail with just 18 days to go until Election Day. The presidential candidates will each hold events in Michigan today. Vice presidential candidates J.D. Vance and Tim No Walls don't have any public events scheduled today. That's a net gain for Tampon Tim and the Dems.
I was going to say, Blake, if she is campaigning in Michigan, if she's having to do issues in Michigan, they're losing. They should.
Great point.
They should have this locked up and be doing more events in North Carolina. If there was a big focus coming from Harris Walls into North Carolina, you'd have a sense that they've locked up the Midwest, Wisconsin, Michigan, and are aiming to peel one off. But the fact they're not good.
No, it is. It's amazing how their polling is kind of tells the story of everything. You know, just like the interview on Fox News the other night. Fact that she went and did that. So
I was going to say, here's what the battlegrounds have right now from Real Clear Politics. Michigan is up Trump by almost a whole percentage point. Arizona up, Nevada up Trump, Wisconsin up Trump, Michigan up Trump, Pennsylvania up Trump, North Carolina 1 whole percentage point up Trump. I mean, Arizona 1.4% up Trump, Georgia 1% up Trump.
See, but Nevada and Arizona still scare me. I have nightmares over Arizona.
I don't blame you, but I will tell you why I'm confident in Arizona, and is because the man whose show follows ours. And if America is saved and goes towards Trump, it'll be because of Charlie Kirk's work with Turning Point USA. And the guy just said, we've got to have a ground game, like a military operation, ballot harvesting, legal ballot harvesting, voter registration. We've got to win the way the Democrats win, which is the scoreboard is the only thing that matters at the end. Charlie figured it out along with some other good people out there. But again, I'll say this. If Kamala Harris is doing rallies in Michigan
of all places,
it's not a good
that's
sign
amazing
for them.
Thank God for young people like Charlie Kirk. No question. Harris opted out of the Al Smith dinner last night, but Trump crushed it.
I'm supposed to tell a few self-deprecating jokes this evening. So here it goes. Nope. I've got nothing.
I still like this one the best.
Coming in very, very strong a certain way. I won't tell you what way that is, but Chuck Schumer is here looking very glum. Doesn't it look glum? It looks glum. But look on the bright side, Chuck, considering how woke your party has become. If Kamala loses, you still have a chance to become the first woman president.
Colorado is warning drivers about this weekend snowstorm. Anyone planning a trip to the southern mountains may want to reconsider. Weather experts say that roads, bridges, and overpasses will be likely slippery, making travel very difficult to impossible. The most dangerous spot could be along Highway 160 over Wolf Creek Pass. Israeli Prime Minister Netanyahu says his country will press on with the wars in Gaza and Lebanon. On Thursday, President Biden said now was a good time for a Gaza ceasefire following the death of Hamas leader Yahya Sinwar on Wednesday. Netanyahu said that Sinwar's killing was a milestone, but vowed to continue the war in Gaza.
Yesterday was a very joyous day in the Jewish community, and it shouldn't just be joyous for the Jewish community. Right. It should be for everyone in the world. The face of evil literally left the world yesterday. Yahya Sinwar was the head of Hamas. He was the military mastermind behind the October 7th massacre in Israel.
Israel activist Rich Sokol in the studio with the fellas this morning. He reminded us that Sinwar was actually serving a life sentence in Israel, but
in 2011, two Hamas guys crossed the border and killed two Israeli soldiers and kidnapped an Israeli soldier and took that Israeli soldier back to Gaza. That Israeli soldier's name, if your listeners remember, was Gilad Shalit. And in a prisoner exchange okayed by Netanyahu, Israel released over 1,000 prisoners, terrorists in its jails, to get back the one Israeli soldier. And among those 1,000, it was almost 1,100, among those 1,000 plus prisoners was Yahya Sinwar.
Interesting. Biden is meeting with European allies in Berlin today. He is expected to discuss allied cooperation on issues ranging from the Middle East to the war in Ukraine, and also tell them that he's a stronger candidate than Kamala Khan, which is what an expert lip reader says that he told Barry Soetoro the other day at Ethel Kennedy's funeral. Elon posting this on X this morning. I think it's a great spot. I chopped it up a lot, but to me, this is clarity, the best political ad.
Trump against the machine. If you vote for Kamala Harris, you're not voting for her to run the country. You're voting for the powerful machine that already runs the country. The machine of political persecution, media lies, censorship, election interference, and open borders. Instead, if you vote for Donald Trump, you're voting for the power of a real president to represent the people.
Our enemies want to take away my freedom because I will never let them.
I think the American people are getting it. We'll see. Great ad. I loved it. The craft beer industry is seeing a downward trend for a second year in a row. Craft beer saw no growth in 2023 for the first time ever, not including the pandemic, and a minus 1% production decline for 2024. That's the worst on record since the Brewers Association began tracking industry data in the late 70s.
Those are the tears of John Hickenlooper and Kyle Clark right there, who love their craft beer. I tried to get into it. At the end of the day, I'm a Coors man.
Yeah, see, I don't drink beer, so I don't.
It is where I'm happy. So the IPAs, it was so hoppy. None of that stuff I liked.
That's what the beer drinkers tell me. Yeah,
cold,
just like cracking open
Coors
that can. Light. Keep it simple, right?
Absolutely. And Friday afternoon is coming, baby.
Do you think it got a little too foo-foo? A little,
Well, there was
little too
there was like
fancy-dancy?
Apricot. Spicy,
I'm blown away, man, by
coffee brewed beer.
Yeah.
What?
Yeah, what is right? Man, there's this beer show up here in northern Colorado. Great show. And it used to come on, or it still does. We used to have our coaches show after, and I'm listening to it. I'm like, I cannot believe they can come up with this many flavors, man.
Right, I know.
And, it's one of those things that, it's very fattish or whatever, but it'll whittle down. It'll probably be the perfect, number breweries.
We
and
all
businesses.
tried it. We all want to, hang out at a local brewery and all that stuff.
Yeah, have you all ever been to a Great American Beer Festival?
Have not.
I have not.
Oh, okay, that explains it. Okay, cool.
Tell us about it, Billy.
The thing is, it's one of the largest brew festivals in America, and it's absolutely fantastic. And it's wandering around getting samples from all sorts of different breweries, and a really, really good brewer can do some real subtle things inside of the flavor. And to be honest, some stuff that you can get when you get into some ales and some lagers. And I understand the idea of the IPAs because the IPA leans into hops, and hops, it's very sharp. And so where the flavor profile hits inside your mouth. But some of the other ones can be very, very smooth. And I understand the idea of getting the apricot, but the apricot thing and making fun of that, but the apricot can be a very smooth, a very light. I mean, Line and Cool, think about this. Even Line and Cool has come around.
That is awesome.
I know, and the funny part is when you talk about the idea of liking Coors would be a very, very light, airy profile beer. It wouldn't hit some of the other stuff. So it's actually closer to the apricot beer you're making fun of than a traditional lager.
It is closer to the apricot than not just you. Joy Overbeck is texting and going, apricot dry dock, yum.
Oh,
apparently there's
the
apricot beer drinking.
No, it's apricot blonde from Dry Dock. It's very, very good. It's fantastic. And again, friend of the show, you remember Casey Boyer, who used to produce.
Yeah, Casey, man, he still has the show, right?
No, he doesn't. No, not doesn't have a show at all here anymore. But he works out at Launchpad Brewery.
I mean he does a podcast though, doesn't he?
Oh yeah, he does a
beer podcast.
Yeah, he does beer, but it's he works down at Launchpad, and Launchpad walked away with a gold medal for their Belgian style ale.
Look, I know there's an audience out there that's like that loves
gold medal.
We had 32 Colorado breweries walk away with medals at the Great American
Beer.
But
look, Bill, Blake just read a news headline that people aren't drinking craft breweries anymore, and I can tell you why. Because at the end of the day, it's gotten so weird and so convoluted, and you just want a cold Coors Light to celebrate your weekend. And that's why most people don't go to this stuff anymore.
No, actually, Great American Beer Festival does well. In fact, it's craft beer.
Yeah, because there's in a small little segment, yes, but the whole craft brewing industry is not doing as well anymore.
It's not doing
I just want Star Wars one.
Because the thing is, it's Spock. The idea is that it's because it's super saturated. The market is super saturated. So you're right.
That is supply and demand.
Yeah, it is going to find its level. But if you're looking for, if Coors is where you are as far as the flavor profile, craft beer makes no sense. But there is so much else that is done inside of the beer and the brewing industry. In fact, there's a certain beer, and I can't remember it right now, that Launchpad brews. And in order to create a little bit of a sweetness inside the brew, they contract with honey providers, and it's a group of it's a company that takes their bees across the border from Northern America into Canada, and based on what the bees are pollinating, the honey will taste differently, and so it adds a different flavor profile to the beer. Wow. But again, if Coors
tap the Rockies, baby,
I know, but if Coors is where your flavor profile is, it makes sense that none of the rest of the stuff, the complexity inside of the flavors,
flavor profile. By the way, Gabe is texting sour beers rock, IPAs rock.
See, thing is, Gabe, I can't do the sours with you, man. I can't do the sours or something.
Really?
Different
What's wrong with the sours?
Because they're sour. That's not what I'm looking for.
Beer. Isn't it sour?
No, not necessarily. And I'm not looking for sourness inside of my beer, and that's why I dislike it. I dislike that sour taste. I will throw down some Sour Patch Kids. I will go nuts with that one. Get me that horse feeding
beer.
Bag. No, I'm just saying sour. I will eat sour stuff. It's not that I'm against sour.
Yeah.
The sour profile in the beer for me, given some of the other things that happen, no, it doesn't work for me. But again, I know people that absolutely love it and do some amazing things with that. Yeah.
So bottom line, though, it's supply and demand. There's too much supply.
Way too much supply. Way too much supply. And you're going to see some of those lesser brewers kind of be weeded out. But again, you got shout out to Launchpad. You've got Bull and Bush that won.
100 years from now, Coors will still be brewing in Golden, Colorado.
Glenwood Canyon Brewery walked away with one. Westbound and Down walked away with two. Denver Beer Company had 2 gold medals.
And where's the championship out? Where did they do that?
Right here. It was here in Colorado.
That's right. I think
Great American Beer Festival. Yeah. 32 medals awarded to Colorado breweries. That is fantastic.
That's amazing.
We showed out. We know what we're doing. Yeah. And again, go visit Launchpad. Launchpad will do you right. You go to the sample or the flight, and even ask the bar guide what you want, and they'll help you
literally
with it.
Walk into those, and I'm like, "Can you give me a Coors or Coors Light?" Most of the time, they will.
Oh yeah, they have to. because there are people in there that
like me, who are like, I'm just here to
There are a
have
lot of
Coors
people
Light.
that show up at the restaurant and they're like, I want water and no ice. Those people. So you gotta make sure the Coors is there for them too.
That's me.
I'm poking fun at you, my friend. I'm poking fun at you.
No, I love it. Speaking of beer,
Gives it to Williams, and he burrows his way in for the touchdown. So the Denver Broncos
and beer. Javonte Williams, 14 carries, 88 yards, and 2 touchdowns, and the Broncos over the Saints, 33-10. Let's see, the New York Liberty, they have a chance to win their first WNBA title tonight. They'll face the Lynx in Minnesota for Game 4 of the WNBA Finals with a 2-1 lead. Tip-off 6 o'clock tonight. And this is crazy. ALCS Game 3, Yankees and Guardians, Indians, bottom of the 9th.
No time like the present. Swung out and hammered. High, deep to left. Away, out of here.
The ultimate present under the tree. Oh my goodness. John Kinsey Noel. The biggest
Great call. They had a fan with the Santa Claus hat on and beard, so that was very timely. So then it moves to the 10th inning.
Winning run at third, 2 down for David Fry. He's walked and struck out. Any way at all here. Swung on, hit high, hit deep to left. There she goes.
A walk-off home run. David Fry lights up the Cleveland Knights.
2 down and does that. Man, they'll try to tie it up with the Yankees today. 48 in Littleton, 45 in Boulder, 49 in Denver. Jeff and Bill will talk a little more about beer coming up here at TGIF, Blake Olson News Talk 710 KNUS.
The weather finally changing now here along the Front Range. Temperatures today will be cooler, making the mid to upper 50s, but it's actually a turn colder as the day wears on, as the front comes in. So falling to the 40s, there will be a chance of showers developing. Showers, maybe a thunderstorm this evening, upper 30s for lows. Cloudy, cool, a few showers, 50s Saturday. A few showers, 50s and 60s Sunday and Sunday night. Weather sponsored by branchplanning.com. Secure your future retirement with a reliable income stream. Annuities can provide guaranteed payments, giving you peace of mind. Get your complimentary review at branchplanning.com or call 303-219-0088. Meteorologist Don Day in the 710 KNUS Weather Center.
Well, it's Friday morning, and we always love to bring a little joy to your life here on the Jeff and Bill Show. And this started out as, let's have a little poetry here or there. It's now become a regular weekly segment on the Jeff and Bill Show. We actually have a poet laureate. That's how cool this program is. Jeff Hildebrandt joining us with the lovely Luann Hildebrandt in studio as well.
Well, yeah, you wanted joy in the morning, but she was unavailable and I came instead. And I am thrilled once again to be here. Okay. So you talked about beer, you talked about Coors, you talked about Golden. Several weeks ago, I did a little rhyme about a beer.
Yes.
And maybe if you want to continue the beer, if you want to keep it flowing, as it were,
right.
I can revive that poem.
We should get that back. It's a good way to start off the Friday, especially when it's getting cooler out there. Fall nipping at our heels.
Oh, I thought that was a dog. Okay. Up in Golden, Colorado, there's a slightly Old West vibe. I've noticed it on weekends when lots of folks imbibe in the icy cold elixir made from Rocky Mountain streams. It lubricates loquaciousness and clarifies their dreams. You'll see cowboy hats and business suits, mini skirts and hand-tooled boots. Camera-toting tourists walking up and down the street marvel at the friendliness of locals that they meet. And early in the evening, the elixir has more power, as if this place invented what is known as happy hour. Laughter just erupts from folks at every little joke. And meanwhile, up in Boulder, all good sense goes up in smoke.
Oh, that's great.
I love that one.
So
I remember that one. That's a good one.
And then, since this is Friday, I brought this up, and since my wife is here, she told me no, but you know how I am. My wife has always been a big fan of cooking shows on TV, and years ago, she told me about a guy named Jamie Oliver. Some folks out there may know him. He is known internationally as the Naked Chef. She said she liked his cooking style, so one day I thought I'd try it. I learned that if you're cooking meat, it's best if you don't fry it. So,
oh, that's good.
And did you go all the way when you tried? Did you replicate that at the house?
You know, I steamed vegetables are now my favorite.
Yes. Don't do bacon. There's a lot of grease in the bacon.
No
Don't do
bacon.
that.
No bacon.
No bacon. That can hurt. That can really hurt.
All right. Before you get to the next one, though,
Okay.
I got to tell folks about Empower Home, and then my poetry is not nearly as good as Jeff Hildebrandt's. Did you know that last year over 49% of the homes listed did not sell with the real estate agent who took the initial listing? This cost home sellers thousands of dollars in lower offers and painful holding costs. Gay Ribble and the Empower Home team of Keller Williams have a track record of selling homes fast and getting their sellers 6.1% more money on average, netting their sellers $30,500 more in their pocket. They do this with their proven proprietary systems and guarantees. Go with the team that doesn't just make empty promises, but can actually provide proof of their experience and track record of getting homes sold for top dollar. Gay Ribble and the Empower Home team is so confident in their service that they provide and the results they'll get you that if you're not happy, you can cancel at any time at no cost to you. This is their cancellation promise. Call 833-301-SOLD. That's 833-301-SOLD, or go to gayhasthebuyers.com. That's GAYE hasthebuyers.com. Back to the beautiful Jeff Hildebrandt poetry.
Oh, I'm glad you finished that. Okay. So there's still politics in the news, right?
I've heard.
Okay. This is just my political observation. You can do whatever you want. I've heard the pleas for unity from Washington's elected. Of course, we must unite their way, or our thoughts are just rejected. I wonder how they all would feel. I wonder what they'd do if we, the people, would unite and force them to be true. Ask them what they stand for, not what they oppose. Demand to know the bottom line for projects they propose. We're tired of all the lies and hate that spews forth all day long. It's not a case of left or right. There's only right and wrong.
Oh,
that is a great reminder,
great
18 days out from an election, of what we're doing. I mean, our election process reflects our people. Yeah, that's right.
No rank voting in that.
Yeah.
Rank your right and wrong.
Confused and going the wrong way. If that's the people that it reflects.
Jeff, in your wisdom, in your time, do you think we'll get to a place where we'll have more influence on right and wrong with our elected officials?
That is a very deep question.
Yeah.
No.
You don't think so?
No, I don't. And here's the reason. I don't know. I haven't really thought this through. I'm not a Blake Olson. I don't think everything through like he does. But I think what's happening is, and I've told people this, that before you vote, you really need to pray.
That's right.
You need to talk to God. And then it doesn't matter who you vote for, because it will be God's choice. And God has a plan, and we're all heading in that direction. Whether you like it or not out there, we're all heading in that direction. And he's going to put the pieces in place. He's going to stack the dominoes so that when it's time, the dominoes will fall, and they'll all be in proper order. And so we should respect and support the people who are elected, whether they're Republican or Democrat or whatever they are, because God has put them into office. That's biblical. And so we need to follow that. And will we have any control, any say? It's only what God wants us to do if we ask him for it.
Yeah, I don't know when the end times will come, and the Bible clearly teaches things are going to get a lot worse for everybody. Prior to that happening, could be tomorrow, it could be a while from now. I think when I look at our elections, I'm a little bit more pragmatic in the sense that I believe that our elections reflect the impact of our education system. And the one thing that we've set our government up to interfere in election in education, I mean, and to step in and go, you can't do that with our tax dollars. How dare you do that with it? You could talk about anything else, but there's one thing you talk about. They will step in and say, you can't do it with our tax dollars. And that's the idea that there's a God out there.
Right.
And he governs in the affairs of man. And so our entire education system for the last 60 years has been godless.
Yes.
90% of kids are educated in this country in a godless education system. And I think that ultimately affects our elections.
And I think it affects more than that.
Oh, yeah.
I think it affects our daily life.
Yep.
You know,
and I think if you could get God back into the schools, we might be able to turn things around.
I totally agree. I totally agree. Everything happens for a reason, even if the why escapes us, and the worry and confusion and the doubting overtakes us. Hurricanes and rising tides, wildfires from the drought, war exploding overseas bring an avalanche of doubt that there's a God who loves us, like the Bible does proclaim. So instead of praying to him, doubters take his name in vain. As we watch the devastation, folks should witness our belief in the God who truly loves us, and our faith brings us relief. So do all you can for others, show victims care and love, and be sure to reassure them there is hope in God above. Take a deep breath and remember, there's a fact we know is true. Worry is a worldly trait. Faith in God will get us through.
It's beautiful. Jeff, as I've gotten older, I've become more of a determinist. Abraham Lincoln was quite the determinist. Believe God was pretty much involved.
Somebody give me a dictionary.
In just about everything. God, you can have different viewpoints of God. The watchmaker, right? He set the whole thing up and then he took a step back and is involved. I believe that God is, and as I've gotten older, I've kind of looked at my life, the lives of my kids, and granted there's bad things that happen and people have the agency to choose to do bad things. But to your poem that you just wrote there, I believe, especially as I'm getting older, that God is intimately involved in just about every aspect of every decision I make.
Well, yes and no.
Yeah. What do you think,
no.
Jeff?
You
you thought you were coming to read poetry.
Wait a minute. Let me get back to my theology training. There was none. So I think there is a satanic influence in the world and in people.
Sure.
And so that has an effect on our decisions as well. And so in order to make a godly choice, in order to do what God wants us to do, we have to ask God. We have to believe what God tells us.
That's right.
We have to believe there is a God.
Mm-hmm.
And so in doing that, we overcome our devilish nature.
Hmm.
There are good people that I know who are believers, but they also are physically and mentally controlled by, I don't want to say a demon, but it's the kind of
Jesus
negative
believed
thought.
in them. He was casting them out.
Yeah. But they, well, anyway,
No,
that's what
I think you're right. I was, if you ever saw the movie Lincoln with Daniel Day-Lewis, great movie. It's one of my very favorite movies. They have these scenes of Lincoln on the bow of a boat being pressed through. It's part of dreams he has in the movie. And those were true.
The Titanic.
It was not the Titanic.
Okay.
But Lincoln, towards the end of his life, felt he was being pushed forward for something.
Right.
Something was happening. And I think to your point about what God does in human history, he's pushing it forward. He's setting the dominoes, so to speak.
Well, think about this. Think about the fact that I'm sitting here today.
Mm-hmm.
This never happened before here. And so, all of a sudden the pieces of the puzzle fit together.
Yeah.
And so we're here talking religion, and we should be on our sister station, KRKS, the Word.
They're running a Trump speech right now.
Awesome.
Anyway, I think the pieces are falling into place.
Well, do we have a few more from you?
If you have time,
let's do it.
Okay.
I want to talk to folks first, real quick, about Colorado Christian University's event on November 15th, featuring the 48th Vice President of the United States, Mike Pence, and his wife, former Second Lady Karen Pence. In partnership with the Centennial Institute and CCU President Eric Hogue, this event offers a unique opportunity to engage in conversation with Vice President Pence, one of America's most dedicated public servants, sharing his insights on the future of the conservative movement. Be among the first to experience the new Armstrong Center as CCU launches its President Speaker Series on this historic occasion. Go to ccu.edu/Pence to get tickets and learn more. Limited tickets are available for breakfast with Karen Pence, lunch with Mike Pence, and morning and evening lectures. Throughout the day, you'll engage in conversation on leadership, faith, and service with these distinguished guests. Please join CCU on November 15th. Remember, this is right after the election, 10 days after the election, for this type of analysis with Mike Pence and Karen Pence. Go to ccu.edu/Pence to get tickets and learn more. That's ccu.edu/Pence. We're going to continue with Poet Laureate, cowboy poet Jeff Hildebrandt, and his wife, Luann Hildebrandt. You're listening to The Jeff and Bill Show.
Denver's talk leader, News Talk 710, KNUS.
At this hour, I'm Christina Ohio in Dallas, and here are your top stories.
An illegal migrant is facing charges in Idaho for first-degree kidnapping and human sex trafficking of a child. According to authorities, Ruben Dario Vizquera Aguilar was arrested for harboring a runaway in Houston, Texas, after a missing 16-year-old from Boise was found with him. The teen left a note and ran away from home, but after further investigation, officials slapped him with the more serious charges. He remains in custody on an immigration hold. A member of the violent Venezuelan gang Tren de Aragua, who was wanted for homicide in Texas, was arrested in Sunland Park, New Mexico. El Paso Homeland Security Investigations posted the picture on X showing the arrest. According to CBP, the Santa Teresa, New Mexico station is one of the busiest in the nation for illegal migrant and drug smuggling activity. Governor Greg Abbott has an ongoing offer of $5,000 for information that can lead to the arrest of Tren de Aragua gang members. Governor Greg Abbott is showcasing the continued construction on the Texas-Mexico border wall, showing panel installations in Maverick County. Abbott saying that Texas is the first and only state in U.S. history to build their own border wall. A federal appeals court has disqualified a judge from hearing an Idaho death row inmate's lawsuit accusing prosecutors of fabricating evidence to prevent him from winning clemency, and saying the judge should have recused herself because of her friendship with the top prosecutor in the case.
That's what you need to know at this hour. In Dallas, Christina Aguayo, Salem News Channel.
Welcome back to the Jeff and Bill Show. Text messages coming in 2033. Thank God for the cowboy poem, dude.
That's great.
Or dud?
That one spelled there, dude. All right. So joining us is Jeff Hildebrandt. He's a cowboy poet, and he's the official 710 KNUS Poet Laureate. I can't write poetry. Can't even write love letters. I remember one time I used Chat GPT to try to write my wife a love letter, and her response back to me was, "Where did you get this and who wrote it?" Because she knows being married to me for I don't know how many years we're married now, 17. But she's like, Jeff is not. His heart doesn't come out into text messages or
that's
poetry.
Crazy. It's crazy that you mentioned that today. And again, it's kind of a weird morning. So Jeff just mentioned that he's 17 years hitched right now. Here's the weird part about our relationship here on the air. Today is my 27th.
Hey, congratulations.
10 years. Thank you. But again, 10 years beside, and we have the same thing with our kids too. There's this mirror where you're almost like 10 years behind.
You're just a little ahead. And congratulations to your wife for putting up with you for 27 years.
I have no idea. She needs hazard.
Can you believe what the state of Colorado would be like without the love and support of your wonderful wife?
The fact that she constrains me and it helps me avoid some of my more worst instincts. Yes. There's no reason. The only reason I'm probably not in prison.
Well, what are you doing
because of her
for the anniversary, Bill?
We'll see. Here's the problem. Okay, we'll diverge.
We'll see. It's the day of the anniversary, Bill.
Again, we're 27 years in. So
we'll see.
We'll
figure it out at 4 p.m. tonight where we're going to go to dinner.
We have to talk, and this is the reason why, is we are in the middle of birthday season. And at this point, about every 14 to 18 days, one of our kids has a birthday. So we've just gone through 2 of them. The next one is coming up next week. So we're stuck between 2 birthdays. It literally is the 14th and the 25th. And then our anniversary is the 18th. You tell me in the middle of birthday season, how you possibly make anniversary work? And
well,
that's the thing
if only there was a poet laureate that could help you write a love poem somewhere around here.
Yeah, exactly. So I don't know. We're going to go out to dinner tonight, but it's a matter of at this evening, how far away do we want to drive? There are several opportunities. That
how late you want to be out?
Yeah, and there is a wonderful Mexican restaurant in our neighborhood that we both love. So if we don't feel like driving either all the way across town or just partially the way across town or even into downtown, we'll choose the
I'm going to tell you, Colorado Mexican is better than Texas Mexican, better than Arizona Mexican, better than New Mexican. It is good here. All right. Well, speaking of lovely spouses, Luann Hildebrandt is joining her husband, Jeff Hildebrandt, our poet laureate, in studio today. Jeff, we've only got a few more minutes. Let's dive into some other poetry for the people.
All right. Just for those who don't know about the cowboy dude, I have recited rhymes at cowboy festivals around the country, including Carnegie Hall in New York City.
Really?
Yes. Wow. And I was thrilled to have my wife and daughter in the audience when we did that at Carnegie Hall. It's been quite a while ago, but I'm still proud of it, and you should be too.
You played Carnegie. Okay. Wow, as a poet.
Amazing. Wow.
Not only that, but I'm the only cowboy poet that's ever performed in mainland China.
Because after he was there, they said no more.
That's right. That's right. Yeah, can't have that. Anyway, one of the things that I discovered in doing cowboy poetry is I used to wear a denim vest and a big old cowboy hat so people would remember me and where they saw me at. But then I soon discovered another thing I'd need is to get a cowboy handle that would help me to succeed. I thought of using Red Seagull or maybe Baxter Blank, or I could be Cow Patty from the Celtic cowboy ranks. Folks, I need your help with this in order not to blow it and be forever listed as the unknown cowboy poet. So email your suggestions to either Jeff or Bill. And please don't call me Cowboy Kyle. That could send this show downhill.
I love it. That's a good one.
So good.
Jeff Hildebrandt, looking for his cowboy name. You can text us on the Denkapolis Law text line at 720-819-5115. I know there'll be some good ones that come through. on the text message
Absolutely.
there for a cowboy name. Well, hey, I want to talk to you about my good friends over at Mountain High Appliance. They've cooked up some tasty deals for your kitchen. Now for a limited time, receive up to a $3,000 rebate with the purchase of qualifying GE Cafe appliances. Enjoy the Mountain High Appliance price match guarantee and special financing options. Visit one of their 4 locations for all the details and upgrade your kitchen with GE Cafe appliances in Denver at East 64th, Littleton, Louisville, Glenwood Springs. Mountain High Appliance. Experience the difference. We'll continue with our cowboy poet, the poet laureate himself, Jeff Hildebrandt. You're listening to the Jeff and Bill Show.
Denver's talk leader, News Talk 710 KNUS.
Welcome back to the Jeff and Bill Show. Wrapping up our Friday with some cowboy poetry from our own official poet laureate, Jeff Hildebrandt, his wife, Luann, joining us as well in the studio. All right, you got one more for us there, Jeffrey.
Well, I tell you, as I was basking in the warm glow of the 2024 VP candidate debate, a memory surfaced from back in 1967. They're words written and put to music by Paul Simon, and you may remember it from the movie The Graduate. It's Mrs. Robinson going to the candidates' debate. The song goes on to tell us the importance of those debates. Laugh about it, shout about it. When you've got to choose, every way you look at it, you lose. Then Simon addressed our national tendency to put our hope and trust in sports heroes and celebrities who, in the long run, fail us by asking the question, where have you gone, Joe DiMaggio? A nation turns its lonely eyes to you. But there is, as there always is, disappointment. What's that you say, Mrs. Robinson? Jolton Joe has left and gone away? But there is also hope for all of us. 3 times in this poem of loneliness and despair, Simon writes, Jesus loves you more than you will know. Then he reminds us heaven holds a place for those who pray. And with that, I end this lesson on a poetic prophecy from 57 years ago that focuses on our attention for political reality today.
Ooh.
Great reminder
Love
going
that
into
one.
the weekend, isn't it?
Dude,
Where
Mrs.
to put your
Robinson.
true hope. And he pulled in Mrs. Robinson
That was
and all
so
that.
good.
Paul Simon, right?
That makes my heart happy. That was so cool. That was so neat. Oh,
Well,
my
if you
goodness.
missed any of the show, go to 710knus.com. You can download the podcast there. Bill is back, and we'll be back Monday, kicking it off, covering all the political analysis you need in the upcoming election. So don't miss it. You're listening to the Jeff and Bill Show.
Denver's talk leader, News Talk 710 KNUS. Oh, for goodness sake, go do something fun on your Friday.